All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit record, and we're going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot of time today together, and I want to make sure that this masterclass is impactful for you, that you get what you came for. And if you're worried about being in the right place, I want you to know you're in the Promote Your Damn Self as a Personal Brand Masterclass. So you are absolutely in the right place. I know for me, I know that it's important for me to build community and build network. I know that this is an intimate setting here, but if you all don't know each other, please drop your LinkedIn credentials in the chat. It is important that you build community beyond this 2.5, 3 hours that we will spend together today. And I want to make sure that you are taking that step to grow your network, even if it's with strangers. You never know who you're going to meet. So as we jump in, I am going to ask the folks, and I was going to ask, where are you all joining from? We got Virginia here joining from Chicago. Drop in the chat where you're joining from. London's in the house. We also have Nicola here from London, and we'll go ahead and get started. And thank you for sharing where you're located and sharing your LinkedIn information there as well. So for those of you that may not be familiar with me, who am I? I am Shantel Love. I'm a corporate executive by day and a serial entrepreneur. And I'm also the author and founder of the movement Promote Your Damn Self, my new book. And if you haven't seen it back here, if you didn't get it, make sure you pick one up. Promote Your Damn Self. I trademarked that because I really enjoy helping professionals and entrepreneurs get paid. And pay basically means positioning yourself, advocating for yourself, building influence, and delivering value constantly. And I help them do that by building powerful personal brands that help them get pay increases, get speaking engagements, help them build brand authority, and build an identity that's not necessarily attached to a company, building an identity that you have if a company falls out of love with you. And I know we don't like to talk about that, but that happens. And your brand lives beyond a moment of time. I also am super excited because I get to teach the best strategies to grow in your power, to grow your influence, and to grow your personal brand fast. And none of it is kept behind a gate. And I've done it. I've done it for myself. I've done it for thousands of clients and mentors and coaches that I've worked with, and I've grown my business and career from an entry-level role as a global vice president in less than 5 years, y'all. I was not playing, I was promoting my damn self. So if you are the type of person who wants to get paid, drop paid in the chat. And Gloria, thanks for joining us from beautiful Nigeria. Drop paid in the chat. Thank you. Paid. I see you. Paid. Virginia is getting, yes, Nicola, paid. That's what I'm talking about. So with that being said, what I want to share is, again, first and foremost, welcome you to the Promote Your Damn Self as a Personal Brand workshop. For me, this is important because I've spent 2 decades helping professionals like you build powerful personal brands that drive career growth. And for those of you that may be interested, tying that intersection between what you do really good in your job and making it entrepreneurial success. So today we'll spend about 2 hours or so on content, learning, strategies, and actions. And this will be an engaging and interactive training. So I'm warning you now, there will be moments that I'll say, take out your paper or take out your digital notepad and write things down or engage with someone in the chat. So it will be interactive here. And I'll stop after each portion to, get Q&A, but I don't want you to shy away from using the chat. If you have a question, if you're anything like me, I typically have a question, and if I don't ask it, write it down or put it in the chat, it's gone. So make sure you put it in the chat if you have any questions. I'll be watching that closely. And then at the end, we'll have about 30 minutes plus for Q&A. So if you have any burning questions where you want to spend more time on it, write those down and we'll come back to those as well. So today we're going to explore a framework I've developed called PAID. And as I mentioned earlier, PAID stands for Position, Amplify, Influence, and Deliver. So by the end of our time together, you'll have a clear roadmap for creating a personal brand that not only showcases your unique value, but it also will help you get paid what you're truly worth. Now, if you are, if you have any questions again throughout, just make sure that you drop them in the chat. So we're going to go ahead and jump in a little bit. So as I mentioned before, we're going to go over the paid framework, and this is what it will look like. We'll start off talking about positioning, and then we'll go into amplify and influence, and then we'll round out with deliver. Okay. If that's okay with you, let me see you drop a thumbs up in the chat. Thank you. Thank you. I'm like, did you all go to sleep already? Thumbs up, thumbs up. All right. So let you know, um, when I think about this training, you think to yourself, what visibility can do for your career. Visibility can do a lot for your career. It can position you for job leads internally and externally. It can increase the number of opportunities that you have to be on projects, opportunities that you have to get promoted, opportunities to speak on podcasts, opportunities to position yourself as a thought leader. It also gives you recognition and growth in your career, recognition for the things that you do masterfully and the things that you do amazingly. It also helps to increase your connections within your industry, your connections on platforms like LinkedIn, your connections in your company or your corporation. So I really want you to understand that this goes beyond just the time that we have together. It's about positioning yourself for that visibility, and get ready, because when you start getting that visibility, your mind will be blown. The things that I've seen my mentees accomplish, I'm still spinning. The things that I'm still learning and sharing that I've accomplished, I'm just like, wow, what is going on here? When you position yourself with brand authority, it attracts really amazing opportunities. So I want to share with you the goals of this masterclass. So the goal is you'll identify your unique value proposition. What we'll do, we'll craft a compelling personal brand statement that's kind of like your elevator pitch or your headline or your brand statement that you'll use. We'll also go into learning strategies to amplify your voice and your influence in your specific industry. And then you'll develop a plan to consistently deliver value through your personal brand. Now, I am going to warn you, this masterclass is not for you if you don't want to grow in your career, if you don't want to increase your visibility, if you don't want to build authority and position yourself as a thought leader on spaces like LinkedIn, and if you don't want to learn how to safely build a personal brand without risking your job, this class is not for you. So I'm going to close my eyes. If you want to leave, it is okay. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, we are moving along. Okay, so let's get it started. I want you to do me a favor. I want to fire up this chat. Drop in the chat your personal goal for this masterclass. Now, share with me one thing, it's only one thing you want to walk away with today. And I want to make sure that, those are present here with me. You are getting what you came for. So I'll give you a moment to think that through, and I'll give you a moment to fire up that chat to drop what you are wanting to walk away with today. And if it was new connections, you already walked away with new connections globally. So that's a great thing. So drop that one thing in the chat. Okay. All right. I see them coming through. I see them coming through. Okay. We got work on building an authentic brand as a thought leader so that I can grow in my career. I love that. We will definitely dig into that. Learn strategies to promote myself consistently. We will talk about that as well. So we'll make sure we get into that as we have a conversation here in this masterclass. Now, as we're going through this masterclass, one thing you will see is my passion. So you may be thinking, why is Shantel so damn passionate about personal branding? That has not always been the case. I will be honest with you, but over my career, what I've noticed is that successful women and people of color, it's not just about working hard for us. It's about building a strategic plan that requires us to do a couple of things differently for our visibility. And for me, as a glass ceiling breaker, and what I mean by that, I became the first Black vice president in my company, which is a FTSE 100 company based out of Europe, similar to in the US, a Fortune 100 company. I became an executive sponsor and an author. And here's why personal branding is so critical, especially for women and people of color. Number one, I'm not going to shy away from the fact that personal branding, it helps to combat systemic barriers. It doesn't mean that it erases them, right? Research shows that women and people of color often don't get the benefit of the doubt. I also saw that women and people of color are about 10% likely to build personal brands. And I'm sure that some of you are, nodding as you're hearing these things. Women and people of color have to prove themselves repeatedly despite past successes and aren't likely to be considered for stretch assignments or promotions based on potential. And again, we face the prove it again bias where past accomplishments are discounted. If anybody has experienced that, just drop an emoji here. Another reason why I'm really passionate about personal branding is the overcoming the modesty penalty. What that means is, as women and people of color, we're typically taught to wait our turn, put our heads down, things will come. And oftentimes we hear that, when women and people of color advocate for themselves, they're often penalized, while a non-Hispanic white male is rewarded for his self-promotion, right? And some have strong personal brands, right, that allow them to document their achievements and speak about them. And I want more women and people of color to do the same. Also, that modesty penalty, it creates this third-party validation, right? And, when you think about promote your damn self, it's not waiting for permission or waiting for someone else to validate you. It's knowing that you are everything that you need to be right now. And you need to remind yourself of who you are, right? And then I want to basically turn self-promotion into industry contributions, fact-based things. It's not bragging if you're speaking the facts. If you've achieved on your quota, if you've exceeded expectations at work, if you've saved them 25% in revenue or cost, that's not self-promotion. Those are facts, and we need to change that mindset. The other thing for me, and I'll go through these really quickly because I can be passionate about this, is building powerful networks. Studies show that informal networks often exclude women and people of color. And what I've learned in my experience of coaching thousands of people and coaching myself is that in order to grow and build a powerful network, sometimes you got to network out of your comfort zone. And sometimes that looks like working and networking with people that don't necessarily look like you, that may not come from the same social economic status and class that you've come from, but they have power, they have influence and authority. And being around those networks, as a consequence, you benefit from being around that power, that authority. So that's really important to me. Salary negotiation. I am not going to get on the soapbox about this, but the wage gap, specifically in the US, it persists. And what it says is that women earn 82 cents for every $1 a white male makes. But when you think about it from the perspective, if you're a woman of color, it's worse. Black women make about 63 cents for every dollar that a white male makes. And if you're Latina, you make 57.5 cents on every dollar. And personal branding for me is that way to provide market leverage. It's that way to be the answer to the pay equity gap. And then lastly, I will say that protection against bias is a primary reason why personal branding is important, and people don't typically look at it this way. So when I say personal branding, for me, it's not about bragging, it's about facts. When you think about personal protection bias, if you use your personal brand in the right way, you're documenting achievements, right? And you're positioning them in a fact-based manner, right? Instead of just saying, I'm great, you have specifics that you can pull from. Also, external recognition is sometimes what we need. So if you're positioning yourself as authority, as a thought leader, you're not saying how great you are. Other people are saying it on your behalf. And then lastly is industry visibility, which provides you career insurance. So I know for me, early in my career, I was the only Black woman in my department. And despite consistently exceeding expectations, or overachieving on my quota, being the first in the office and the last to leave, I was passed over constantly for leadership roles. And I'll be honest, I was thrown under the bus so much, y'all. I almost considered a job as a mechanic so I can get a better view. It was that bad. And I wasn't seen as a leader. And that experience taught me that perception really matters. As much as we don't want to talk about it, if we are an employee of someone else's organization, perception matters, right? And once I built my personal brand, I positioned myself not only as an industry thought leader, I also became an entrepreneur because I was tired of the fact that others had so much control over my career, and I didn't have control over what happens if my company fell out of love with me. And I didn't like that feeling because I had been laid off 14 years ago. Now, with that as well, when I became an industry thought leader, suddenly those same leaders who said that I wasn't qualified, it became very obvious to them that the qualifications existed. Now, what I will say before we go into it, this isn't about playing a game. I will say that I've said before that corporate America is a game. And I'm saying this on a recorded line. It is a game. And those who know how to play the game have the advantage. But I'm not going to teach you how to play the game. I'm going to teach you how to change the game today, right? And when you build a strong personal brand, you're not just advancing your own career, you're creating this pathway for others and changing what leadership looks like and changing what your industry looks like, right? So I want you to remember this as we go through this conversation. I passionately believe that your excellence, it deserves to be seen. And building your personal brand, again, it is not bragging, it's ensuring your impact gets the recognition it deserves and creating opportunities for those who will follow in your footsteps. So that is my long-winded why, and my passion. So as we go into this conversation, I'm going to start with a bedrock of what people really don't talk about when it comes to personal branding, especially for women and people of color. I'm going to start with mental wealth. Now, for me, mental wealth is building, building wealth that goes beyond your bank account. Your mental wealth is the most important and valuable currency, and I want you to protect it at all costs. Now, for me, I define mental wealth as the investment that you make in the thoughts that enter your mind and only selecting the positive thoughts that have a positive return on investment. I'm going to sit here for a minute because a lot of the clients that I've worked with, a lot of the workshops that I've facilitated on personal branding, a lot of the talks that I've had with employee resource groups, a lot of people struggle with seeing themselves as a personal brand because they've been so conditioned and they've been taught and told that they're just an employee, or they have to follow the marching orders or whoever their leader is. And what I will tell you right now in this very moment, and I want to pull something out, right now in this very moment, you have a brand, even if you don't work on it. There's ways that people perceive you because they're assuming who you are and what you are. And the first step in personal branding, before we even get into positioning anything or positioning yourself, is conquering your mind. And the reason why I'm so passionate about conquering your mind is because if you don't believe that you are, you won't. And if you believe that you will, you definitely will. And I won't spend too much time on this. I use AI a lot. And in this conversation, I'll give you some AI tools and recommendations that I've used before. But conquering the mind is important. I did an exercise recently with a group that I had, and I did a prompt on Chat GPT, and this one is going to blow your mind. So the prompt that I put in, and this is all about conquering your mind, right? The prompt that I put in, I said, if you were a bully, If you were Satan and you wanted to stop a young woman from meeting her potential and fulfilling her life's purpose, how would you do it? The first thing ChatGPT said was, if I were Satan and I wanted to stop a young woman from meeting her potential and fulfilling her life's purpose, I would target her mind, her emotions, her surroundings to create a sense of self-doubt. I would create confusion and discouragement. My goal would be to keep her stuck, distracted, and disconnected from her true path. And here's how I would do it. And it gave bullet points on every single thing it would do. I bring this up because there's so much noise that's going on in the world. And I want you right now to think to yourself, am I attacking my own mind? Am I subscribing to the limitations and limiting beliefs that others are projecting on me? And why am I subscribing to someone else's limitations, right? Why would I do that to myself? And then I also want you to think about right now in this moment. You can either put it in the chat or you can write it down on a paper or your digital notepad. I want you to just take a moment and I want you to celebrate your damn accomplishment. Seriously. I want you to pause for 1 minute and I want you to write one thing that you are proud of. And that one thing that you are proud of, it doesn't necessarily have to be work related. It can be that you showed up here today. It can be that you became the first in your family to do something. It can be that you overcame your mind. It can be it can be that you told yourself that you were going to accomplish something and you did it and you're so damn proud of yourself. It's really important that you take those moments for yourself so that you can tell the enemy that they're a lie. There's a lot of things that you can be proud of. There's a lot of things that you can be cheering yourself on for and not necessarily waiting for the validation. That's a simple way that you can promote your damn self, is just remind yourself of the things that you've overcome, the things that you've accomplished on your own. The first, being the only, and taking the moment to celebrate yourself. It is mission critical. It is critical. And I appreciate your comment here, Virginia. You say, I let the imposter syndrome sink in, and that's another reason I need to show I'm a thought leader. I know I'm smart. I know I'm capable. I need to be sure that shines. And take a screenshot of that, because sometimes you need to say that to yourself a couple of times because you know it. And what I want to tell you right now, Virginia, I've been there before. And the thing that I'm going to tell you right now, imposter syndrome is a bitch. And I have better language, but it is. And I name my imposter Big Bertha. And she still to this day, she gets me, but I recognize her when she shows up. I recognize her when she's stopping me from my true potential. I recognize her ways because she's been doing the same thing for year on year, decades on decade. Her routine is getting old. And none of us are exempt from imposter syndrome. It's just about how we show up in our power and how we allow ourselves to move forward. And what I will say is that one of my coaches told me one of the most profound things. It's quite similar to what you called out. She says, the only one who's confused is you. The only one who's confused is you. You already know that you're smart. You already know that you're capable. There's this outside influence that's telling you something else and making you believe it. You got to tell yourself a different story, right? And Misky, you say, I am capable and take initiative. I am a leader and need to stop looking for validation from others. Amen. Amen. This is about to become a sister circle because we do need to surround ourselves. And like I said in that prompt, it's it's so profound because it says everything that we know we need to do the opposite. Attacking your mind, surround yourself with people with a positive mind. Attack your community and your surroundings. If you're surrounding yourself with people who are subscribing to the same set of beliefs, it's like a pity party. It's like trauma bonding. Get you a new set of people to be around who have a different way of thinking, a different energy about themselves, right? Let's tell ourselves a different story. So with that, we got to conquer our mind, and it's something that's going to be a consistent part of your personal branding journey. So we're going to start off with with our first point called positioning. And as we work on positioning, we're going to do this activity. And this activity is going to be about identifying your unique value proposition. And we're going to talk about how to do that. So as you're positioning yourself and you're promoting your damn uniqueness, I'm going to take you through this exercise for the next 5 to 10 minutes. And with this exercise, I'm going to put the next slide up. Is going to give the description of what we're going to do here. So the first step of really leaning into your positioning, a lot of people think personal branding is you got to create something new or go after something new. I don't look at it that way. The first step is looking at the intersection of your passion and your expertise, right? So what we're going to do, you're going to pull out a sheet of paper or you can use a digital device. And what I want you to do is split your paper up into 3 sections or split your digital device up into 3 sections. On the left column, I want you to list 3 to 5 things you're passionate about in your work or in your life, right? So that's the left column, 3 to 5 things. In the middle column, or rather in the right column, I should say, I want you to list 3 to 5 areas where you have deep expertise or skills. Now I'm going to stop here because a lot of people get confused with the word unique, get confused with the word deep and expertise. Expertise, deep expertise, and uniqueness is something that comes naturally to you. So you think about it this way: what do people typically come to you for? Do they come to you for advice? Do they come to you for to play devil's advocate? Are you really good at being observant? Are you really good at convincing people to, convincing people to the way that you think or convincing people to buy? Are you really good with computers? Are you really good with children? Are you really good working under chaos? Those areas we typically overlook, but they are deep. They require a deep level of expertise and skills, right? So I'm trying to jog your thinking. Now, I want you to also look at the intersection between these lists. This is where you can see this potential unique value proposition. And what I'm going to do for visuals while you're writing that down, I'm going to give you an example of where my passions or where your passions and expertise can intersect. So on the left-hand side, my passion, I'm passionate about people. I'm passionate about social justice. I'm passionate about personal branding and entrepreneurship. On the right-hand side, my expertise is executive leadership, change management, building high performance cultures, and inspiring people to action. So I want you to take a moment, take a few minutes to write down where your passions and expertise line up and also look at where they intersect. And this is where your unique value lies. And this is what sets you apart and forms that core of your personal brand. So let's take a moment. I'm going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes to write that down, and then we'll go into the next step here. All right, we got about 1 more minute. All right, all right. We're gonna move along. And Miski, thank you so much for putting yours in the chat. Miski is passionate about problem solving, people, community building. I love that. Expertise inspiring people to action, change management, and leadership. Come on now. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so let's look at the next slide. So from here, this is interesting. So are there any folks in this group who are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs? Drop yes or okay. Aspiring, yes. Okay. So I'm going to speak in intersections here. So I'm going to speak of it from the perspective of your career and the perspective of being an aspiring entrepreneur. So the next step is to define your target audience. So if you were an employee, it's important to identify, like, as you're building your personal brand, it's often related to or connected to one, visibility, two, getting promoted, or three, getting a pay increase. So this part of the exercise, it allows you to define your target audience, the audience that you're going to connect your passions and your purpose to and start conversations with to plant the seed. And when you're thinking about your target audience, it can be internal, so in your career, so internal to your organization or external. And what I mean by external, it can be a couple of things. If you're looking to position yourself as a thought leader, right, and you want to be on stages, so your external demographic can be an events coordinator who's looking for someone to provide a unique approach to their audience, be it on a podcast, be it at a conference or a summit, right? It can also be the demographics if you're looking to go to another company, right? What does this person credentials possess? What are their title? Where are they located? What are their psychographics? And this can be for a hiring manager, this can be for a recruiter, right? The spin on that can be for your potential clients. Now, I am a keynote speaker and a coach, so I can only speak from those perspectives. So, in my entrepreneurial spaces, my target demographics are typically like women and people of color who are professionals, high achievers, and high performers. They typically have challenges or pain points around vocalizing their value, getting visibility, getting promoted, and landing speaking opportunities or landing clients if I'm coaching someone to become a coach, right? So I look at all of those psychodemographics. Now, this may feel like, why am I doing this now? This helps with the ending part as you're delivering value to them. So I promise you it'll all tie together, especially as you're positioning yourself as a thought leader, positioning yourself for promotion or building or creating content on social media. So I want you to take some time to really lean into the defining your target audience and their demographics. This may be something that you will continue to do after this conversation. One of the things that I will say is the most important is the part two. So if you're looking for a promotion or if you're looking for a pay increase, you want to think of it not from the perspective of you, right? I want a pay increase. I want a new title. I want more responsibilities. That's a part of it. But when you're thinking about psychographics, you think of it from the perspective of the person who can do those things for you, the person who can actually hire you and give you that pay raise. So you think from that perspective of what goals do they have. Their goal is likely to make their job easier, to find someone who has the track record of proven success or experience. They may be a leader who's very people centric, who wants to increase diversity in thought, diversity in experiences. Their challenges, maybe they've had a lot of turnover or they've had junior employees or they're overwhelmed, right? So thinking through those pain points of what you're seeing and what you're knowing, as you're thinking about the psychographics, if you're an employee looking for a pay raise, promotion, or more visibility, all of these things play into your pitch. It plays into your coffee talks. It plays into how you negotiate. It plays into how you position yourself. It plays into how you approach your brand statement. Okay. All right. Okay, so we're gonna take one more minute and then we're gonna move on. Okay. So now you have an understanding of what makes you unique. We started to think about defining the target audience by demographics and psychographics. Let's identify who needs to hear your message, right? And we'll create an ideal client avatar. And I just use the word client. Client can be interchangeable with the boss or industry or whatever. So we're going to lean into that next. So we're going to identify your ideal client avatar. This basically represents the person who would benefit most from your expertise or your passion. And that can be a recruiter, that can be a boss, that can be an executive, that can be an events coordinator, that can be a mentee if you're really interested in mentoring people. It can be a city council person. It can be, someone in a new location that you want to relocate to. So I really want you to expand your mind. So by understanding them deeply, right, as you're thinking about your ideal client, avatar, you need to, again, as I started to allude to, think of it from their perspective. Understanding them deeply helps you tailor your personal branding message effectively. And examples at work. So no one will say this, but your personal brand can get you promoted. And the goal is to make your boss look good in some regards and attach yourself to their strategy or their enterprise strategy. Now, when I think about an ideal client avatar for someone who's working in a company, that avatar can be more than one person. So I was working with a client located in the UK, and she's a amazing Middle Eastern woman, has a lot of credentials, has a lot of letters behind her name, and she's stuck at a middle manager level. And we were doing this exercise of identifying the ideal client avatar. And one of the things that was keeping her stuck is that she works for a large company. So she does have a benefit. So she works for a company with about 30,000 employees, and her immediate team is about 20. So as we were talking about her ideal client avatar, she kept staying within that pool of 20. And I said, what do you believe will happen if you go outside of that pool of 20? Do you believe that there are other people in the organization that can promote you or position you for opportunities? And she said, I just been so stuck in this pool of 20, right? So thinking of it from that perspective of, are you limiting yourself to the people that you see all the time? Are you limiting yourself to the people that you work with all the time? Are you taking the opportunity to not just network? And we hear network, LinkedIn, and all that stuff, and we think about meeting strangers outside of the company. There are a lot of opportunities within your company if you're employed, networking up, networking across, networking, reverse mentoring, where you may be able to provide your insights and your expertise to someone that may be more senior than you. So as you're thinking about your ideal client avatar, you want to think about the value that you can bring them, the things that may keep them up at night. And I'm going to go back to this previous slide, the psychographic. So their goals, their aspirations, their challenges and pain points, their values and their beliefs, and their preferred communication channels. And then what I want you to do with that, go back to your first step, the intersections of your passion and expertise, and think about how your passions and expertise can solve the problems and contribute to the goals and aspirations that these individuals have. And that way, when you're going into a conversation, you're not just saying, I'm all of this, right? I'm all of this passion, I'm all of this expertise. You're going into this conversation with a little bit of awareness, or you're starting a conversation to understand their goals, their aspirations, and their challenges. And once you hear those, and once you know those, you can either empathize, and you can suggest or state the value that you bring. I know that this may be uncomfortable, but we can't assume that people know the power that we possess, know the expertise and experience that we possess, even if we told them. even if we told them in a one-on-one, even if we told them in a career development conversation, we have to keep in mind we're not the only people that they're talking to. So you have to remind people of the expertise, the passions, the record of proven success that you have, and plant those seeds in others so you can have trumpeters. Okay. All right. If you're with, it went in fast forward. If you're with me, drop a thumbs up in the chat. Okay, got you, got you. Thank you, thank you. All right, so we did the client avatar. So this is, I'm gonna pause after this and go into questions. So then the next thing that we're about to do is develop your brand story. Now, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go back, to your first stage before we even get into the brand story. So you're gonna tie your step 1 into your brand story. So right now I have that exercise that we did earlier listed here as the reminder to go back to your statements. So going back to the things that you're passionate about, going back to the things that you're an expert in, right? And then we're going to build a brand story. But before we get into that brand story building, I want to pause for a second because I know that this is a lot that we're going through and we're approaching 40 minutes of being together. I want to pause for a second to see if there are any immediate comments or questions that you all want to address now before we go into the brand story. And feel free to come off of mute if you do.
Do you have an example of like how you would write out your explanation of your avatar? I'm looking here. I have two, one that would be mentor or somebody who could hire me, and another person being a mentee, somebody who could probably get me into other spaces in the industry. Um, but I don't know how exactly I would write out marrying my passions and expertise with what they're looking for.
Okay, so I have one, but it's more aligned to entrepreneurship. So this is what I'm going to recommend. How comfortable are you with AI like Chat GPT?
Very.
Okay, so this is what I would recommend just to get you started. So I would create a prompt, and it'll be a long form prompt where you're saying something like act as an experienced um, I would say marketing expert, right? My ideal client avatar, and you write everything about this person that you know. And I mean, it's going to seem so minuscule. So you want to talk about their age, you want to talk about the position that they have, you want to talk about the stresses that you believe they have, you want to talk about the projects that you believe that they're on. You want to talk about their history. And this can be a specific person or an ideal person, right? And then you will ask the chat GPT, what is the biggest goal that this type of person will have? And then the next question that you would ask is what value can I bring? And then you will pull in your expertise and your passions and allow chat GPT to start jogging your thoughts. The reason why I say this is that this will likely evolve a bit from person to person because your mentee may be different than a sponsor. Your sponsor may be different than a hiring manager. The hiring manager may be different than a boss. So it'll help to jog out those different avatars and how you can act on those avatars. Does that help?
Yes, very much. Thank you.
Okay. And Gloria, thank you for your question. You need clarity on intersection between my passion and expertise. You want to come off for a second?
All right, thank you so much. So I don't know what to write on that part. That's the exercise 1. I wrote my passion, I wrote about my expertise, but how do I like bring them together and have like an intersection there?
This is good. Are you able to tell me what your passions are?
Okay, passion, helping people, learning new things, problem solving.
Okay. And what's your expertise?
Talking, executing, and implementing everything about customer success. Then coaching, mentoring young and aspiring CSMs, and working under pressure, inspiring people to do more. Yes.
Oh, this is beautiful. This is beautiful. So your intersections can be, if you're looking at building your brand to growing your career, or building your brand for thought leadership, or for being a mentor, or being a speaker, and being a speaker on a podcast, on a stage, on a panel. There's so many intersections that I hear right now. So one, on the left-hand side, your passion is helping people, right? And helping people. And then you also like to mentor people. So the intersection could be, if you're wanting to be in like a training role in your company, or position yourself for a different type of leadership role, or positioning yourself for, and if your company has an employee resource group, or if you want to help more people in the space of customer success, you can bridge those intersections of helping people by sharing your experience, sharing your failure, sharing your expertise. You can do this by doing a company newsletter if your company allows. You can do it by speaking at an employee resource group to new hires, or to people who are not at the same level as you. You can position yourself as a thought leader in that space, most definitely, because there are a lot of people who want to be where you are, who are just starting out. So you can share tips on your platforms, or your social media platforms. You can speak on podcasts about it. So what was my experience like starting in customer success, and the help that I would give to other people if I were just starting out. So there are just, how can you use your passion and your expertise to position you as a brand, to position you as a person that people can trust, that people know, that people like, that people will say, this is the person that I need to talk to about underline. That underline is your expertise, that underline is your passion. And that's how they intersect, so that you can position yourself as a brand. Does that help?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay. So we're going to move along. Before we get into the branding story, I'm going to I have to talk about safeguarding best practices. And after we get to this point and we go through the personal branding story, we're going to take a little break. I'm going to do a check-in to see if you all need a little break. But it's important for me to talk about safeguarding, because as a professional, I've been working on my personal brand for 14 years. Before I became an executive, before I became a serial entrepreneur. And there are some things that people just don't tell you about personal branding. You'll hear the gurus say, if you have a personal brand, it doesn't matter, it's your brand. You can put yourself out there, you can do whatever you want. And the lie detector determined that's a lie if you work for an employer, and if your employer has policies, if your employer has restrictions on what you can and cannot do. And it's important for me to talk about safeguarding, because your main thing is your main thing. And I don't ever want to put that in jeopardy when I'm talking about personal branding. So I'm going to take a hard pause on this to go over some personal branding safeguarding guards and best practices before we get into the brand story pieces. So the first thing first, I want to encourage you, and you can take a screenshot of this if you need to. But the things that are important, especially if you're going to position yourself on spaces like LinkedIn, because we will be talking about LinkedIn and how to leverage it for your thought leadership. It's important that I call these things out, and to help you find and identify the pitfalls, and also identify the mutual benefit. So the first things first, I won't go through all of these line by line, but number one, it's important for you to know your company's handbook and your employer policies. Now, if you've never seen the handbook, find it. If you've never researched what the company policies are on personal branding or speaking or social media, please find that. It's important that you familiarize yourself with anything pertaining to conflicts of interest, intellectual property, or personal conduct. I know for me, When I first started personal branding, I made sure that I was crystal clear with my company in the interview, and then I revisited with my manager and HR, got everything in writing and documented, and made them aware of what I was doing in my side jobs. Everyone is not that transparent, but that's my approach. Because I didn't want to put my main thing at risk, and I didn't want to come across as a person that wasn't being transparent. It's also important that, you know, you understand moonlighting. There are some companies that have restrictions or immediate termination for things like moonlighting. Moonlighting means having a side job or a second job. So it's important to check whether your company allows moonlighting and under what conditions, like if there's a non-compete agreement, or I know one of the big things that I always advise against is using the company's time and resources. Anything that I would promote or recommend is, one, automate it. I don't have time to be posting on social media all day. I automate it with tools like Buffer, or I like LinkedIn scheduling tool. And then I make sure that I don't do these things on the company's time, right? And you align your entrepreneurial pursuits with the primary job that you're doing, to avoid any conflict. So if you do have a conflict and you're pushing your expertise, it is okay to talk about your company. It's okay to talk about the job that you do, but you may want to check the policies on moonlighting, because if you start to position yourself to saying, hey, I'm taking clients, or hey, I'm doing this, you want to make sure that you're not putting yourself at risk. The other thing I talked about briefly was non-compete agreements. So reviewing your hiring contract or your employee bylaws to understand the limitations on your industry and geography. So I would definitely talk about that, because I've worked with some women who are located in Europe and Africa and Australia, and all of the global policies are a bit differently. So familiarize yourself with that. Don't just take someone's word for it. Okay. And then the other three that I'll call out really quickly is document, 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 document. Okay. It's important. You heard, I said it's a million times. It's important to document to protect your work. So if you are if you were comfortable and you had a conversation with your HR team or your managers about your personal brand. And I'll give you an example of how to do this in a few minutes. Make sure you document it, have the timestamp. If they send it in an email, take a screenshot of it, because I don't know if your corporate policies have a retention policy for your emails and things like that. Managers change, HR change, and don't want to get to a point or be in a situation or a precarious spot where it's your word against a person's word that no longer works with the company. Okay. The other thing too is one thing I highly recommend, especially as you're looking to grow in your career. One of the best practices is to understand something called a grade document or career mapping. Most companies have a grade document, and it basically tells you what you need, what experience or expertise you need to have to be at a certain grade level. And what I mean by grade is not academic grades, but roles are aligned to a grade. So if you're like an individual contributor, entry level, it's probably like a B level. If you're a supervisor, you're like a C level. If you're a manager, you're like a D level. If you're a director, you're like an E level. If you're an executive, you're like an F level. And it gives a description of what the company expects from you as an individual at those various levels. The reason why this is important is, let's say hypothetically, you're an individual contributor today, but you want to get to a director role in the next 2 to 3 years. You now have an understanding of what the company is saying you need to have by way of competencies and skills to get promoted to that next level, so you can begin to build out a career growth plan. And then the last thing that I'll call out is social media standards and policies. And this can change, year to year with certain companies, but making sure you have an understanding of your company's social media policies, especially regarding content, tone, professional affiliation. Now, I know some of you may be like, this is a lot. It's not. It's not a lot. It becomes a lot when you get let go from a company and you don't have a brand. It becomes a lot when you've been thinking to yourself, hey, I shoulda, coulda, woulda. It becomes a lot when you see other people positioning and promoting themselves and you haven't taken the time to support yourself in that way. Yes, it will take some conversations. It may take some sweaty hands, sweaty palms, sweaty underarm conversations. I've been there. But taking that step to uncover information that you don't currently have access to, HR and your leadership team or someone in your legal organization should have access to these documents that they have to position to their executive board or their team as standard operating procedure. So making sure you have access or understanding, I should say, to this information. And I would say one additional practice that I would recommend is transparency. Being transparent with your employer about your ambitions in your career or your entrepreneurial endeavors. I will say that the benefit of Gen Z, I don't know if any of you are Gen Z or know a Gen Zer, is that Gen Zers are the generation that typically have portfolio careers. So they're working a full-time job or they're working a side hustle, right? So in addition to their primary job. So just making sure, I do too, I love Gen Zs. I'm a millennial who functions like a Gen Z. So making sure that, you take advantage of that. And this isn't about you not liking your job. It's about you protecting yourself. I have a portfolio career because I love my job, but I love my family more. So that's my thought process. So being transparent. So on this next slide, you can take a screenshot and you'll get access to these slides too once we're done. I created a framework or some talking points on how to have the conversation, right? So how you introduce the conversation, how you acknowledge the sensitivity, of the conversation, being prepared to discuss the fear, and the conflict that it can be presented with the decision to move forward, requesting clarification, seeking guidance and closing. So this is not the conversation guide, but these are some things to think through before having a conversation. I think the thing that a lot of people slip up with, and this is the same with salary negotiations, is that you don't think through the worst case scenarios or the cons. And oftentimes the worst case scenario never happens, but luck favors to prepare. So making sure that you think through the conversation before you have it. And then on this next slide, I actually give a template on what this conversation can look like, right? And this can be sent via email, this can be in a chat, this can be what you use on the side as you're having the conversation, be it in a remote or face-to-face environment. So I just give the connection first. It's important to highlight that you're scheduling a meeting to discuss an important aspect of professional development. So I don't necessarily say, hey, I'm going out to build my personal brand. I want to develop professionally and talk about what you want to do. You may want to leverage LinkedIn to build your personal brand that aligns with the company's social media policy. So you're letting them know, hey, I want to be in alignment. This is what I want to do. And I want to make you aware. I'm not trying to do it behind your back or anything like that. And then you also want to acknowledge that, you want to talk about the sensitivity of the matter and the things that can go unspoken, right? And you want to also go into things like you've done your research or you're curious about a certain, policy or a certain boundary, and having the foresight enough to ask, is it okay to have a conversation, and starting that conversation with them. And this can be with HR, this can be with your supervisor, manager, this can be with your direct leader. Okay. Now, the thing that I would say, honestly, is that despite any of the discomfort you have, I would recommend, having the conversation versus avoiding the conversation, or at least starting the conversation to uncover the answers that you may not have right now. You want to make sure that it is recognized that you're being proactive and you're addressing concerns and seeking the guidance that you need to have. And I think that that's important too, because it shows that you're not just shooting from the hip in these conversations, right? So you're putting it all out there. So I know that I took a big pause, but this is important for me because a lot of people don't think about the consequences of building a personal brand. One other thing I didn't call out is that you may experience some jealousy with the people that you work with. People get jealous when they see you're doing things that they're wanting to do. So preparing for that as well. But it's important to have the conversation if this is a pathway that you want to take outside of your company, right? If you're doing it inside of the company, it really doesn't matter that much, but you do want to make your leaders aware that you may be having conversation with people that may not be in your immediate team. Okay. All right. So I know that was a lot. And also, Miski, thank you for the comment here. I do think that is important as well. And Virginia, you said I started this and the company allowed me to access to some of their resources so that they can, so that they can benefit from some of the work. Double-edged sword, but gets me what I need now. Yes, absolutely. And there's another young lady that I worked with as well. She actually was building her personal brand. So she followed these steps. She lives in the UK actually. She was following these steps and the company created a new role for her, not realizing that there was an opportunity there for her to position herself as a brand authority and the company was able to benefit as well. So thank you for that comment too. All right. So we're going to get into amplifying your brand story now that we got that out of the way. Safety first. We put our oxygen mask on first before we put on anyone else's oxygen mask, like on the plane. All right, so we're going to go into amplifying your brand story. So I'm going to teach you how I typically approach amplifying your brand story. So I'm going to take a story, right? So we're going to think of ourselves. So imagine that you're in the elevator, right? And you get in the elevator and you're on the top level floor and you're taking this elevator and it's taking you down to the first floor. And when you get down to the first floor of this building that you're in, the door is open. And when the door is open to this elevator, you see three very familiar faces. You see Oprah Winfrey, you see Warren Buffett, and you see the one and only Queen of Spanx. And you also see the hologram of the one and only master of all things Apple. So what do you do? What do you do when this elevator opens? What's your pitch? You now need to pitch like your life depends on it. What do you say? Is anyone you will pass out, right? You would pass out, right? Look favors to prepare in that situation. You would probably pass out or, get nervously stutter through, hi, my name is, and stutter through it, right? Not knowing what it is. But it's important that, while I know that I would ask them so many questions, right, they wouldn't get anywhere. But it's so important for you to think through how you have these conversations, right? And I know we may not necessarily encounter a Warren Buffett or Oprah Winfrey or the hologram of Steve Jobs, right? But there are some high stakes situations that we're in at conferences and meetings. If you're working in a corporate space where you actually go into an office, walking past someone really important in the hallway, and what do you say other than my name is Shantel Love and I'm this title, right? What do you say? You want to be able to pitch and position yourself as a brand where you're not leaving an impression where they don't remember you. You want to be memorable, right? That's critical. And one thing that I remember that I learned early on is that when people say what you do, they really don't care. They really don't care what you do. The goal of your brand story is to make them care, right? You have to make them care. That's what they care about. So this is how I want you to think about your brand statement. Your brand statement can be used on your LinkedIn headline and profile or about section. Your personal branding statement can be used in an interview. Your personal branding statement can be used in content. It can be used in your bio. It can be used in meeting a new executive or leader in an organization. It can be used at conferences. It can be used on podcasts. I can keep going on and on and on. So when I say who cares, make them care, this is what this can look like, right? So typically when someone's creating a brand statement, also known as an elevator pitch, they would say something like this. Hi, my name is Reba. I am the CEO of tech company. I am looking to talk about a coding program. I am interested in helping people code. Can I tell you more about my business? So when you read this, does it give you a reason to care? Okay, I see a nope. Nope, 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 no, 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 no. Right. It doesn't give you a reason to care. It's just telling you a whole bunch of words about a title and what you want to talk about. It's all about me, and what you want to do, right? So I typically use a little formula on how to make them care. So the approach that I typically take is the I am, and then you talk about the role or the transformation that you can offer, right? And then you can say, I'm on a mission, or I'm working on a project, or I'm leading an initiative if you're working for a company. And then I would talk about the transformation that you can offer, or something that's results oriented. You can lean into your why a little bit in your name. So for some people, you can reverse it. You can put your name first. You can say, I am, Shantel Love, and I am this, and I'm, responsible for these products, and this is a transformation that I offer, or the results that I offer, and then go into your why. If you're visual like me, I'm going to take the same Reba, and I'm going to put her uh, initial pitch into a brand story. And this is what it would look like. So it says, as the CEO of Tech & Co., I'm spearheading a mission that democratizes access to coding education worldwide. Our platform offers interactive design to empower individuals from all backgrounds to develop essential developmental skills. I'm dedicated to bridging the digital divide and creating opportunities for the next generation of tech talent. I'm Reba. Does that feel different?
Yeah, a lot
It
different.
does, right? Reba, in this instance, she's the brand authority. She's an authority. She speaks proudly. She speaks about her mission, what project she's working on, what transformation she can offer in that space. She's dedicated to bridging the digital divide. Like, girl, that's some dedication, right? So her positioning is strong. It speaks to her brand. She's able to say this exact same thing for content. So if she were on social media, this is her first, this wasn't even a minute, like a minute pitch, right? She can say this for her elevator pitch, her personal branding story, to be visible, to stand out, because everyone else is just going to say, my name is such and such, and this is my business. This 1 minute may feel awkward to you, but most people spend a minute trying to make people think that they are all this and that, right? And it gets lost. When you can create a concise brand story, it resonates with you. It provides, like Misky said, what you can offer at a completely different level. And this helps in regards to you advocating for yourself and being strong in who you are and strong in your expertise. And this looks a little bit different from person to person, industry to industry, right? So I want to encourage you to just take a moment and start to think through your pitch and what that can look like. So I'm going to give you a moment here. If anyone's brave enough, we can workshop this together, and we can come out and see what your brand pitch is, and we can tweak it in the next few minutes if you want to come on off mute and tell me what you have. I promise I don't bite.
Sorry, I'm looking at the one that I currently have, and like tearing it up in my head to
Let's
rearrange
talk about it. Let's not tear it up in your head. That's where we need to get out of the head and into the purpose. What do you have? Let's talk about it.
Um, so I start off with my name. So I'm Virginia Bloom. I'm a passionate customer success leader, and equity enthusiast who thrives on building strong relationships and driving positive change. I bring a wealth of experience to every client engagement with a proven track record of managing post-sales teams, driving renewals and upsells, enhancing cross-functional collaboration, and developing customer-centric playbooks to deliver tangible results.
I like this. One tweak that I'll make, Virginia, customer success. I'm taking a note. Tangible results. Tell me a little bit more about your tangible results.
Tangible results being high
Have you hit a
retention rates.
quota? What is high retention rates? Give me a number.
Last year it was 95.
Okay.
A 30% increase in our, or a 30-point increase in our NPS response from payers and C-suite contacts. I think those are the only ones in my head.
Okay. Let me give you my addition because you have it. It's real solid. And what's your title again? Give it to me one more time.
Manager of customer experience.
Okay, manager of customer experience. My pens want to die. My husband and I have beef about one thing, me leaving the pen tops open. And now I see why we have beef because it's not working for me right now. Manager of customer, is it customer experience or customer success?
Customer experience.
Okay, got it. So I am Virginia Bloom, manager of customer experience. After organizations work with me, they can expect a 95% retention rate. And I do this by working with clients intimately in the C-suite and throughout, contributing to a 30-point increase in NPS scores. I do this because I'm passionate about clients and customers. And you can continue the rest of that. But that's what I would say. I would switch it around a little bit. That impact statement is the transformation that you would offer. So I would just bring that back up. So say your name, say your role, and then the impact statement can come in, like the transformation that you offer is that, after organizations work with you, after clients work with you, you can do either one of them, but I chose organizations because the company that you've worked for in your experience, you've been able to increase or you've been able to contribute to a 95% retention rate. That's impressive. It's different when you say I had a high retention rate or high renewals rate, and high for a company can be 40%, right? When you put it into actual numbers, you can feel it more because high is subjective. High for me can be 50% when your high is 95%. When I put you next to someone who has a 50% retention rate or renewals rate, it doesn't feel the same. It doesn't feel as high, right? So I would say, like, don't be afraid to call out specific numbers, specific targets. That's what differentiates you. And that's what actually positions you as a thought leader because you have the proof, the receipts, as we say, of what you can accomplish. So I would say keep what you have. I would just move the organization around a little bit. And then your why is really strong.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. All right. All right. So what I'm going to do a break check right now because I know we've had a lot of time together. Are you all okay with taking a 5-minute break and then coming back, or you want to keep it going?
I'm good to keep going.
Okay. All right. I guess you're speaking for everybody. All right. Let's see. Hold on. Misky, drop one in before we go. A high performing. Oh, I will move it. I like this, Misky. I'm good to have a 5-minute break. All right, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. Whoever wants to stay here can stay here. I'm gonna workshop Misky's statements, and she put it in the chat. And then we're going to move along to the next piece here. So, Miski, a high performing account executive. I would say something that's more, have you exceeded a quota before,
Yes, 5
Miski?
consecutive
Okay.
quarters.
Okay. Um, Okay, so I would say this looks pretty good. The only thing I would say, like this core is really good. I would say move up the impressives. So Miski, a quota crushing or quota exceeding or I am Miski for 5 consecutive quarters. I've exceeded my quota as a high performing account executive. That sounds better. Like you can even just say that sentence by itself, and that's a mic drop. I am Miski over the for the last for the I'm getting my tongue twisted. For 5 consecutive quarters, I've exceeded my targets as a high performing account executive, right? And then what I would say is my clients come to me because I am known for saving them money and time. And then you can go into like one specific. I save them money and time by doing what, right? And then the last thing that I would say is I offer high customer retention. That high customer retention is very subjective. So put some numbers in there. So something like I have a history of meeting X% for customer retention and customer conversion. That sounds more powerful because when you say everyone's saying I'm a high achiever, everyone's saying I have a high target. All of us are here because we're high achievers, right? You wouldn't be invested in yourself if you weren't a high achiever, right? But don't leave that subjectivity to someone else to define. So be comfortable in making that explicit.
What about if you don't have the numbers?
You can gauge.
Okay.
Now, who's going to go back and fact check? I'm not saying lie. I'm not saying embellish, right? I'm not saying do any of that. But you can say arrange, right? If that makes you feel more better. Look at me, feel more better. What is that? If that makes you feel better, right? So you can say, you know, I have a history of retention rates between 80 and 90%, or 85 and 95%. I'm sure you can recall landing in that space. If you don't have a specific, you can do that range or do an average. On average, that's not lying. On average, my retention rates are about 90% on average, right? You can use that as well. All right, and I'm going to do this last one for Gloria, and then we're going to move along. But Miski, that's good. I would just round that last part out, like just explaining what high customer retention is and what high customer conversion is. All right.
Okay.
All right, Gloria. Let me see. And I know this is gonna feel uncomfortable, but you're telling facts, right? You're telling facts. So I am Gloria, or instead of starting off with your name, I'm known for providing exceptional support. I would start there. I'm known for providing exceptional support and ensuring project completion as a customer success manager. I will move it around a little bit because it makes more impact when you say those words earlier. I am known for exceptional support and ensuring project completion as a customer success manager. I will go into some specifics. So if you're working in fintech, I would call out, like, if you have a duration of time, like over the last 5 years or for the last 5 years, I'm just making up a number. Um, I've thrived in fintech, um, supporting retention management, onboarding. Uh, I would say pick three because it becomes a tongue twister. So pick the three that are most powerful. So retention management, onboarding, solution provision, and or relationship development. So pick the four. And then I would say, like, if this is a pitch to a company on a podcast, a stage, or your manager, what transformation, what outcome can your customers expect? That's the only thing that I would add. Am a speaker on gender equality, author, facilitator. Oh yeah, the ending is fire. I wouldn't change anything about that. I am a speaker. I'm a speaker, gender equality advocate, author, and facilitator, empowering, passionate about empowering young women and men. That's fire. I will leave it as is.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And you can use that on, like I said, on LinkedIn. You can use it on your speaker page. If you have a speaker one sheet, you can use it in a description of a talk that you're talking about. I mean, it's so many ways. Once you have it nailed down, you can use it. And one thing I will tell you, don't worry about who's looking. Don't worry about what you need to change. That's brand statement should not always be the same. You may get a new project, you may get a new role, you may have written something down today and you're like, I want to change it next week. That's totally up to you. No one's going to check you. No one's going to say you're wrong, right? So be okay with letting it evolve as you evolve. All right,
Right.
so we're through this break. We're gonna move on to the next part that's really critical for me, social wealth. So I always say, get you some friends that will tell you that you're dreaming too damn small. Social wealth is important for me because social wealth is defined as an invaluable currency, and it's amassed by boldly venturing beyond your comfort zone to forge connections with those who challenge, inspire, and elevate you. I will tell you that I am not a natural extrovert at all. I somehow am considered an ambivert, which means I'm 50% introverted and 50% extroverted. I do not mind being by myself. I'm also one of those people who struggle with starting conversations, but I can keep them going. So I'm not the type of person who will be at a networking event, going up to everyone, handing out my business card, shaking hands. That's just not me naturally. So I do certain things for me that bring people toward me. I wear bright colors. I always bring something that attracts people. I can insert a conversation as it's going on. So I know my strength. But the reason why social wealth is important is because oftentimes we can find ourselves a function of the community that we grew up in, a function of, yes, peacocking, a function of the space that we're most familiar with, and that can be where we went to school, where we grew up, the zip code, area code, or the country code, the geography. We find it uncomfortable to network out of our comfort zone. But, what they often say is that, if you want to grow in your power, if you want to grow in your career, you have to surround yourself by those who are doing what you aspire to do. So I know for me, while I'm not the extroverted type person, I'm a bit fearless and networking because it's proven so beneficial to me. And I'm very passionate about networking internally in your company if you're employed, and networking externally on places like LinkedIn. So as we're talking about social wealth, I want to help you think about how to identify your influence strategy, especially as someone who wants to be a brand authority or someone who wants to be a thought leader. So I will say that, the best way to invest, is that, in your career is investing in you. And sometimes that investment will require you to be honest with yourself. Now, I want to ask you this question. Does any of this sound familiar at work? If I continue to excel at my work, I would eventually be promoted. Or let me share all of my skills and my capabilities before I ask for a promotion. Or when I finish this challenging project, I will finally be seen. Or I don't look or speak like any of the executives at my company, or I'm too young or not experienced and haven't proven myself, or I don't have an Ivy League education. Sounding familiar? I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes, but it's not. I'm saying yes. I'm saying yes here. So, I think like as we're talking about influence, and I'm going to teach you some influence strategies, it's important to be honest with yourself, right? I've heard all of these things before, and oftentimes it's a battle with us in our head. We're telling ourselves this. I know for me, there's a lot of things that I want to do before I turn 40. There's a lot of things that I want to do before my son graduates from high school. There was a lot of things that I wanted to accomplish in my 20s. And I've been through every single one of these points and more. And a lot of the people that I work with and coach and mentor have been through these same thoughts and have these same conversations. But I think the reality is it's only up to you to be honest and to identify if you have an area that you need to develop. I think the reality is, it's not always easy for us to see our value. It's not always easy for us to see what we've accomplished. It's not always easy for us to celebrate what we've done. But it's not productive for us to limit ourselves for what we can accomplish. So with that being said, as we're thinking about influence, it's important to think about your skills and your gaps in your learning, especially as you're building your influencer strategy and as you're looking to grow in your career and growing your brand authority, right? So as I'm speaking about being honest, I know for me, I'm not the most technical person at all, but I am really good and passionate about communicating. I'm really good about strategy. I'm really good about inspiring people to action. And one of the things that I'm not going to do is go back to school and get a technical degree or certification. I will be honest about knowing where I am in those capabilities and identifying how it supports or benefits my company. Prime example, I became an AI advocate because AI scared me. And I knew that I don't believe that AI could take my job, but I think that someone who knows how to use AI can take my job, right? So I started to put myself in these spaces where I was uncomfortable learning from those people who are experts. And I did this on LinkedIn, where I fearlessly reached out to people who were the experts and said, hey, can I have 5 or 10 minutes of your time in exchange for me sharing my perspective on this topic that I saw you post about, right? So exchanging resources to build on the area that I wasn't as strong at. But as you're thinking about your gaps in your learning or your gaps in skills, be honest about this, where you are. So I typically recommend doing a skills inventory, so documenting your current capabilities. So what your technical skills are, your soft skills, your leadership abilities, your contributions, and communication skills and your industry knowledge. One book that I would recommend, in addition to my book, Promote Your Damn Self, is the Corn Fairy FYI book. It's called it's called FYI. So F is in Frank, Y is in yellow, I is in indigo. This book has been my career Bible. You hear me? I've had this book, and they bring out new volumes like every 5 to 10 years. But the FYI book by Corn Fairy is the blueprint. I will say it again. It's the blueprint to career development and skills gaps analysis and awareness. I don't know how much the book costs now. You may be able to find some of the pages like on Google, but what I love about the book is that it shows like what the pitfalls are if you don't develop a certain skill. It shows you how to think about that skill, how that skill benefits your organization, how that skill benefits a company or a space or a platform. It's a very, very powerful book. I recommend it to anyone who's in leadership or aspires to be in leadership. The other thing is, and I'm going to see if I can Google it and drop it in here too. The other thing that I would recommend is your gap analysis. So compare your current skills. So as you go back to the thing that I called out, it's a Korn Ferry is the institution that wrote the book. So Korn, starting with Korn, Ferry, Ferr. So the book is FYI by Korn Ferry. So I would say look at your gaps in your current skills against industry requirements. The tricky way that I typically do this is, and I meant to send it to everyone. Sorry, let me do this again. The tricky way that I do this is I typically look at a role. When I'm working with a mentee, I typically look at a role that you want to go after, right? And I look at the requirements for that role. And when you look at the requirements for that role, or for what they're looking for in a certain industry, you can do a T-chart. So you do a T-chart on the left-hand side, you'll write the requirements. On the right-hand side, you'll write your skills, your capabilities, or the things that you believe you can learn fast, right? So you want to do that analysis. And that way, in the event you get an interview, you're not ill prepared to argue like the areas that you want to develop or improve. Okay. So I'll go through this quickly. So you want to do a gap analysis, look at your future role requirements, your personal branding goals, marketing demands, and identify critical skill gaps. So think through that. This is going to be an exercise that's ongoing. We cannot do this in 5-10 minutes, but this is something that I would encourage you really sitting down, taking at least 30 minutes to an hour, just thinking through that as you're thinking through how you build your influencer plan. And thank you for that, Miski, for putting that in the chat. The other thing is, we want to make sure that you're going beyond intelligence and hard work. I know that we've been encouraged to subscribe to the notion that intelligence is enough. If you work hard, you'll get what you deserve. You have to wait in line. If you come in early and leave late, that will be recognized, but it all crumbles down when you realize that that's not necessarily the case for everyone. So going beyond intelligence and hard work is critical. So the first thing, as you're thinking about your gaps, or as you're thinking about your influencer strategy, you want to pause and think about professional impact. And professional impact for you can be like what I see and what I saw in a lot of your brand statements. So consistently exceeding performance metrics, like jot that stuff down. Like, what projects have you delivered on ahead of schedule? When have you received an outstanding performance review? When has a peer given you kudos? And I mean, that can be on the same level or someone below you. And really making sure that you are aware and you have documented your performance impact. I'm going to call that out in a minute on how you can use this in your influencer strategy. The other thing that you want to be aware of is your professional DNA. So if you're looking for leaders or executive roles, you're trying to gain influence from other people so that you can position yourself as a leader in the organization. And by taking that step to reaching out to someone that is above your networking comfort zone already showcases leadership ability and leadership confidence, leadership presence. So by showing your unwavering reliability or fostering team collaboration, that's important. When I say unreliable, or rather unwavering reliability, I don't mean stretching your boundaries to a point where you're burnt out, right? You're going to deliver on what you say you're going to do, but you're not going to sacrifice your physical health, your mental health, right? So I want to be explicit about that. And then the other thing is professional presence. So mastering executive communication. And executive communication is just being confident in what you know. That doesn't mean that you know all of the answers. So being okay with saying, I don't know that answer, I can get back to you. One of the biggest mistakes is allowing the ego to get into the space and trying to make up something that you don't know. Like I would advise strongly against that. So mastering your executive communication, speaking to what you know, being okay with articulating what you don't know. It doesn't make you less of a authority or a professional. Also, your executive communication can grow and expand with you working cross-departmentally if you have a company or organization where you can work cross-departmentally. Influence with key stakeholders and projects, projecting confidence in high stakes meetings. I do a lot of practice, or I've had my clients do a lot of practice outside of their company. Some of them feel uncomfortable working or having these conversations internally or testing their skills out internally. One of the better ways that you can do it if you're a part of a community, and that community allows for you to teach or develop or coach or be a part of a work stream. That's a really great way to test out some of these skills, to pick someone's brain around how they approach cross-departmental relationships or influence with stakeholders and things of that nature as well. And what I'll say is that, technical excellence and dedication alone aren't enough. So without a clear understanding of the three pillars, right, of the professional impact, professional DNA, and professional presence, without having a clear strategy to develop them, advancement opportunities can remain limited. So I'm going to give you 3 steps for career, advancement and career achievement on how you can use these things right now. So what we're going to do right now, we're going to explore a powerful framework that I typically use. And what it does is it focuses on the fact that preparation isn't just about being ready, it's about being unstoppable. So in this slide here, I'm going to go over how to build your evidence portfolio. We're also going to talk about how to document your key wins and how to take those key wins to have a conversation around those key wins. We're also going to talk about how to manifest your future state, right? And what those conversations look like as you're planting those seeds internally and externally. And we're going to talk about how to chart your success and how to create a roadmap that'll help you get more visibility, that'll help you get position yourself for that promotion. And we'll talk about some realistic timelines as we're going through this, okay? So the first thing is building your evidence portfolio. So as you're thinking about building your evidence portfolio for the sake of influence, you want to think about your track record of quantifiable achievement. So as I spoke about earlier, yes, it's fine and dandy to say I'm a high achiever, I'm an overachiever, I overperform, but making sure you have the specifics. This is actually, and I'm going to talk a little bit about LinkedIn. I know we don't have a lot of time for that, but if you're looking for a new role, and I'm a former recruiter. If you're looking for a new role, recruiters' job is to find the best candidate, right? That's their only job. And a lot of them use what we refer to as a Boolean search. A Boolean search is putting together words to search a database to find the qualified candidate that you have. So if a recruiter is looking for a high performer, they will put in a Boolean search. I'm looking for a high performer who has a track record of exceeding their quota by 90% plus. And if you have those terms on your LinkedIn, it'll find you. It's the same thing for people who want to be a speaker or people who want to be an authority. LinkedIn is actually like more or less like a search engine. So it's like a Google. So I was doing a workshop about a week ago, and this young lady said that she put a post that she spoke French, and she put in her profile that she spoke French. She said a week later, a recruiter reached out to her for a bilingual opportunity, and she wasn't even looking for the opportunity. She just put in that she spoke French in her content, and she put it on her profile, and their Boolean search picked it up. So making sure that your profile represents the opportunities that you want to attract and using those keywords in your searches, okay? We talked a little bit about this earlier. Strategic alignment and documentation is critical. Market intelligence is important. So as I talk about like documenting your quantifiable wins, you want to think about what KPIs have you influenced. For example, if you've increased team productivity by 25% or you've reduced costs by $100,000, this is all goal. This is all goal for customer success thought leaders, productivity leaders, operations leaders. This is all goal. And then when you think about capturing your specific impact, you can think of it this way. How have your initiatives that you've done in your role, how have they aligned to the company's objectives? It's always a plus when you can think from an enterprise strategy. And what I mean like this, if you work for a big company, the CEO has these goals, right? And you may work a few layers down for a piece of that business. If that piece of that business is contributing to those larger goals, if you can articulate how you've contributed, even in the smallest bit, to the enterprise goals, it'll put you in a space where you can position yourself for more visibility. And maybe you've been an individual who led a digital transformation project, or you improved customer satisfaction scores. I heard that in the conversation. That all contributes to the enterprise strategy. So having those things to pull out in your negotiation conversations, in your interview conversations, in your podcasts or speaking engagements, or if you're creating content on your own, calling those things out. And the last thing here that I'll call out is being willing to research compensation. So know your market value, know what your competitors are paying, what the industry standard is for your target role. That's important. I know that I'm a part of some amazing communities that share pay transparently. I know like Success in Black does a really good job. I'm in the community, Forbes community as well, that shares that information. I also like Chief is an organization that I'm a part of. But another really great tool is Fishbowl. I know it's self-reported salary information, but it gives you a gauge of what that looks like as well. And then I like to use that a lot as I'm thinking about how to position certain salary expectations if I'm negotiating and not just shooting from the hip. The other things, I'm looking at time, the other things are manifest your future. So being clear, right? Being clear in what you want to go after. So thinking through, like, what does your ideal leadership role look like? What does your ideal next role look like? What decisions are you making? And that gets you in that space of thinking through where you are now and where you need to evolve to, right? And then I want you to consider your impact ripples, right? And impact ripples are things like, how are you influencing the organization, right? And I heard Gloria say that she enjoys mentoring people. And that is a big piece to having influence in your organization. They're listening to you because they believe that you're someone that is worthy of their ear, right? And you're in a space where you're allowed to do that because you're passionate about it. And you want to think about like what's different because you're in the role. What will be different because you're in this new role that you're visualizing, right? So take that opportunity to think those things through so you can talk about that as well. And then the other thing that I would say is, as you're charting your success, I would recommend defining the role evolution. So create 3 potential paths for your goal. And the reason why I say this is because I'll be honest, like the role that I'm in now in my 9 to 5 is not the role that I was thinking that I was going to be in. I've always been a salesperson, not in customer success. But I needed to be in customer success because I was traveling all the time and I needed to be at home, right? So I was thinking about the things that were more important to me. And sometimes it's not all about a pay increase. Sometimes it's about being in a certain geographic location. Sometimes it can be time freedom. Sometimes it can be working on a specific initiative and the impact that you're making. So as you're thinking about creating those 3 potential paths to your goals, maybe it's leading a larger team or spearheading a new initiative or developing a new business unit. I want you to build that timeline for that scenario, right? So is it 6 to 12 months? What immediate impact can you demonstrate to get you there faster? Or is it a little bit longer? Is it 18 to 24 months? And how can you transform your area of responsibility to get there fast? And I know that it's not always going to be on your time, but be agile, be flexible. So as you're having these opportunities or even starting to plant the seed about these conversations with your manager or your boss, I really want you to think through those 3 career paths, because you can come to your boss and say, hey, I want to be promoted to the director of sales. And they may come back and say, I think you'll be a great director, but we see you more in the director of customer service. Are you going to shut that down because it doesn't look exactly like what you wanted it to look like? Or does it fall within those buckets of things that you said you would be willing to do? Okay. It's a really powerful exercise that really puts you in control. So as you know this and you define this, you're able now to start preparing for advancement in your career, and you can start having conversations. You're prepared with confidence and clarity. You're not just shooting from the hip. You have an understanding of your why. You've manifested and started to think about the impact that you can make in that role, and you started to build out that success roadmap. That's not just something that's going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen over a period of time, and it'll help you think through how you get to that next phase in your career. And I say this because the most successful career transitions, they don't happen by chance. They don't happen by accident. They're the result of a methodical preparation, right? You have a clear vision, you have a strategic plan, you start building your evidence portfolio today, and that maintains as a crystal clear vision for you for your future impact, and you create a roadmap that excites both you and your leadership, where it's that mutual benefit, right? So I want to challenge you before I go to the next slide. I want to give you a challenge right now, a call to action. I challenge you each week to spend at least 30 minutes, documenting your achievements. And this is your first step at mastering your career trajectory. And as you start to document those things, you'll start to see themes, and you'll start to see how you can integrate those into conversations. I also want to challenge you to, network out of your comfort zone at least once a month, right? Reach out to someone in your organization, or reach out to someone that you aspire to be like, and have a coffee chat with them at least once or twice a month, and start having those conversations so you can get the nerves out. So you can, start working on your pitch. You write it down and it's sitting on paper, and then when it's time to say it, you're fumbling over it. So you want to get that practice and get those reps so you can be comfortable. If I can get someone to agree to that, can I get a thumbs up in the chat? Oh, I like that. I have a really nice achievement tracker. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Virginia. I love that. I love that. All right. All right. All right. All right. Okay. Moving along. So it's important as well for me to make you aware to prepare for counter arguments. So as you're building your strategy and your plan, you can come in, happy like a butterfly, and saying, hey, this is my strategy. These are all of my achievements. This is why I believe I'm the best person for the role. And if you're not prepared for counter arguments, you can crumble right in that moment. And one thing that I'll tell you that sales taught me in my career is that someone will tell you no today, it doesn't mean no forever. And although you may have pitched yourself for an opportunity, and this goes for everything. This goes for if you're pitching yourself for a promotion. This goes for if you're pitching yourself for a speaking engagement. This goes for if you're pitching yourself to a client. Be prepared for counter arguments and understand that no and failure is a part of the process. No and failure doesn't mean that you're not great. No and failure doesn't mean that you can't continue to move on. No and failure doesn't mean that your value isn't needed. It may just mean not right now, right? So it's important that you prepare for counter arguments, especially if you're using your brand to get yourself promoted. So a couple of the counter arguments that I put together, they can come to you and they can say, something's going on with the economic climate. And when you hear we don't have the budget, that's your cue to shine, right? So don't just accept it. Come prepared with a cost neutral proposal. For example, one of my clients created a phased compensation plan tied to a specific revenue target she would hit in her new role. And her boss loved that. She thought like a business owner, right? So not necessarily coming in and say, okay, the economic conditions, it's a political season. All right, I'm just going to accept that. Businesses actually like for you to think of yourself as a brand. They actually like for you to assert yourself. I saw a stat in the Harvard Business Review that said 89% of leaders, their top one quality in achieving in their role is assertiveness. in companies like that, when you assert yourself, not being aggressive, being assertive. The other thing that I'll call out is timing objections. You'll hear it's not the right time, right? That often means convince me why now. So you want to show them why waiting to hire you can cost them more. Okay. One of the executives I coached, they documented how delaying her promotion would impact 3 major client relationships worth $2 million annually. Suddenly the timing looked much better. So, you want to think of it from that perspective. How can you promote your damn self in the best way and preparing for the counter arguments, right? And thinking from the objective of what the impact can be without you. The other things to call out is skills gap. So this can be one of these gifts wrapped in a challenge, right? So when they say you need more experience, respond with evidence of capabilities plus a concrete development plan. So I know that, you may not necessarily have all of the expertise for a certain role, and you don't need all of the expertise for a certain role. If they're telling you that you don't have enough experience, partner with them. Map out exactly how you'll close any remaining gaps in your 90 days. Now, again, I'm going to slide back here to this previous slide for a reason. We spoke about gap analysis, so you're not coming into that conversation blindsided. So you should be aware of the gaps before you come in. You should know them before someone else tells you. So as we're going through that conversation piece, you want to make sure that you're prepared with the skills gap argument, right? So other arguments can be around organizational structure. It can be a point of being too valuable. So being too valuable in your current role. Ooh, that one irks me because someone's standing in the way of your blessings, right? So being too valuable in your current role means you're doing a great job where you are now. Now you have to show how promoting you multiplies that value, right? So present a succession plan. That book that I told you about, FYI Influence, will definitely help with that. That demonstrates how moving up in your career actually strengthens the team, okay? So I'm gonna take a pause really quick, another break check before we wrap this up. Anyone need a break for a couple minutes? I know I'm grabbing me some water. Okay. All right. Okay, Misky, take a break. If someone is still on here, okay, I'll see you back. If anyone has any questions, come off of mute because I know we covered a lot in that part of building influence. If you have any questions, come off mute and I'll give a couple minutes before we go into the final parts. Okay, so I'm going to take that as a sign. No one's mentioned anything. We're going to take it as a sign and we're going to do a quick 5-minute break. Come back at the top of the hour and then we'll pick up on our last part here, okay? All right. See you all in 5 minutes. Okay, okay, we're coming back in. If you hear the sound of my voice and you're back, can I get a hello?
Hello.
Thank you. Okay, okay. So we're gonna go ahead and get back in here. I'm hoping everyone else is here. Thank you for the hello in the chat as well. That helps. All right, so let's get back here. Where am I? All right, all right. Do you all see my slides? Can I get a thumbs up if you see my slides? I'm trying to get back. Say that one more again.
It just says break check.
Okay, break check. Yep, so that's where we are. That's where we are.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. All right, so this is the final stretch. All right, we made it this far with stretching here. We got another 20 minutes or so of content, and then we'll use the rest of the time for Q&A. So I'll get to those questions in the chat in a minute. So we're at this point here of delivering value consistently. Delivering value consistently, okay? So when you think about delivering value consistently, you can deliver value at work, by showing, connecting yourself to business outcomes and identify what's important to your boss, what's important to your business, what's important to your clients. You can also do that by creating awareness and influence. So we spoke a little bit about how you can build influence by positioning yourself as an authority, having coffee talks in your organization. If you have an ERG, or employee resource groups, speaking at the employee resource groups, being a lead of those, and taking on those visibility projects that are connected to the enterprise strategies. Outside of work, and we'll talk a little bit about LinkedIn. And we're going to do a little LinkedIn exercise because I love LinkedIn. Outside of work, you can position yourself as a thought leader. And I'm going to be the first to tell you, all of you are thought leaders. The only reason why I'm a thought leader is because I said so. No one said, hey, Shantel, you're the thought leader. Or, hey, Shantel, you should write a book. Or, hey, Shantel, you're the best at this. I believe I'm the best and I know I'm the best. So I position myself as a thought leader and I speak about the things that come easy to me. On platforms like LinkedIn. Other ways that you can do it outside of work are content. So creating content on social platforms like LinkedIn or Medium or Forbes or any of the channels that they have out there, positioning yourself through content. And it can be a newsletter that you contribute to, a newsletter that you've created on your own because you want to have that owned media, not something that's borrowed from someone else, right? My own media is my speaking engagements. So when I speak, I get the recording from the speaking engagement and I can use that for content that showcases my speaking ability. I'm going to give you a secret that no one tells you about: awards. Awards is a really great way to position yourself outside of work. And I don't know if you all are familiar with like the 30 under 30 or the 20 under 20 or the 40 under 40. Most of those people we glorify. We're like, wow, they are amazing and they're cool. And guess what? 90% of them nominated themselves. Talk about promote your damn self. They nominated themselves. So as you're looking at industry awards and accolades, you can do a quick chat GPT search on awards in your industry, or nominations in your industry that you can apply for, and nominate yourself. Don't wait for someone to give you that visibility. And one thing that I will tell you, yes, it'll probably feel awkward the first time, but when you get nominated or if you win an award, or let me change it around. The last time you've seen someone win an award or got nominated for something, did you ask them, did you nominate yourself? You probably didn't, right? You probably didn't. You probably celebrated with them because it was an accomplishment. So as you're positioning yourself as a thought leader, as a value add, look for awards, in the industry. Nominate yourself. It's perfectly fine. It's a great way to promote your damn self as a personal brand, and position yourself as an authority and a thought leader. And it's important as well too, because you can't assume that your boss will be there forever. You can't assume that your boss will know your brand. You can't assume that your boss will be your trumpeter. You have to be okay with trumpets being your own trumpeter. Okay. Now, the other thing that I'll call out before I go into our LinkedIn pieces, it's another thing that I want to encourage you to do. And this will help with content creation as well if you want to position yourself as a brand authority, right? And your brand can be centered around the business that you're in. You can talk about the latest and greatest in the industry. You can talk about challenges that you overcame. You can talk about where you believe the future of your business is going. You can talk about what you wish you knew 10 years ago. Your content is whatever you make it. But a great way to work on your brand and your company, and also, marry that with content that you're creating, is to do a weekly values system documentation, right? So once a week, I typically do it on Friday. Take about 15 minutes to document 3 things. The first thing you want to talk about is a challenge that you faced. The second thing that you want to talk about is how you solved that problem. The third thing is the measurable impact of that solution, right? Now I'm going to give you a secret here. This isn't just journaling. It's building your promotion portfolio and your content engine in real time. And let me tell you why this matters. Most employees, they walk into a performance review or a job interview and they speak generalities. They say, I'm a problem solver. I'm great with people. But imagine instead you can say, in the past year, I've solved 52 specific challenges, resulting in X dollars saved, Y processes improved, and Z customers satisfied. And you have the documentation to prove it. Come on now, I told you we're going to change the game. This is game changing. And I teach this exercise because it does a couple of things. It builds your confidence by showing you your real value. It creates a bank of specific examples for interviews, reviews, podcasts, speaking engagements, mentorship, coffee talks. It's all there. It provides ready-made content for LinkedIn posts. You now have your content of everything. You have 3 challenges that you're putting down each week, right? Ready-made content for social media. Everyone may not use LinkedIn, but social media, it helps identify your patterns of expertise, your personal brand. And it makes asking for a raise or a promotion data-driven, not emotional. It takes the emotions out of it. You now have the data-driven framework to ask for a raise or a promotion. And I've seen this single practice transform careers, because what it does, it shifts you from hoping people will notice your value to strategically demonstrating it. And one of my mentees used this method to get promoted twice in 18 months because she could precisely articulate her impact in a way her peers couldn't. That's game changing. So I would say the key to this is consistency. I know that it's only 15 minutes. So I would say start this week, no excuses. Those 15 minutes will be the best investment in your career. I promise you. I promise you. And again, like I said, it's really great content for interviews, podcasts, mentoring, news articles, and so much more. So much more. Okay. So let me get into my bestie, LinkedIn. So I love LinkedIn because, their mission is to connect the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. And, a lot of people look at LinkedIn in a different manner than I do. I used to look at it as just a jobs board, and it's not just a jobs board at all. It's a place where you can post content from the heart. You can share your thought leadership. You can get your thought leadership reps up by posting, by joining communities and podcasts and positioning yourself as an authority. And I'll share some of the strategies that I've used to land a podcast as well. And you can do it now, even if you've never done it before. Other things, it connects you with a network, like I said, out of your comfort zone. and it helps you to join conversations. You know, I encourage people to always join conversations that they weren't necessarily invited into and bring value, right? And I'm also a big fan of using AI. I'll talk a little bit about that as well. Now, what I will say is that yesterday's LinkedIn is not today's LinkedIn. Yesterday's LinkedIn was just a job search and a career accomplishment tool, and that's part of it. But today's LinkedIn is that, and it's a place where you can find potential customers, recruiters, collaborators, investors, and clients if you know how to use it the right way. The power of LinkedIn, right? The things are common with LinkedIn is that it's positive. You don't see a lot of drama on LinkedIn, like other social media platforms, and most of the users are pretty accomplished. And it looks like this. So now LinkedIn has well over 1 billion users, 59 million companies, 115 million plus jobs are listed. You can certify 36,000 skills, and there are 129,000 schools on there. And the average income of LinkedIn users is 70K. So 70,000 pounds is the average salary. So that means that there are people there who have money, right? They have, power and influence, right? So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to show you a couple of tips and tricks. I'm going to stop sharing here and I'm going to go to my LinkedIn profile so that I can show you a couple of ways that I typically would recommend highlighting your LinkedIn profile if you're wanting to position yourself as a authority or a thought leader in your space. So let me go ahead and close this out and let me get to my LinkedIn profile. Or let me take the other route. Is there anyone that wants me to do a LinkedIn review on their profile?
Yes, me.
Okay. If you do, drop your LinkedIn credentials in the chat and then I'll do it from there.
All right, I'm gonna send it now. Hold on. Send profile. Sorry, I'm adding it to the chat now. Sent.
It is all good. Take your time. All right. And give me one moment. I'm trying to look at one other tool. That I had promised to share. Okay. All right. So we're going to get your profile up here. It's loading. And let me change my share screen view. So tell me, as I'm pulling your profile up, Miski, tell me what you're targeting, how you want to be perceived.
Yeah, I think that's a great question. Going back on the exercise you were doing before, like who our target audience is. I feel like my target audience is the 22-year-old me who
Okay.
didn't really know what tech sales was, we didn't really know what opportunities were out there. So it's women in their 20s who are career driven, who want to know how to break into tech sales, might not have the connections, might not have the resources, but don't know where to start. And I want to be like that voice of this is how you start.
Okay. I love that. I love that. I love that. There's a lot of room for that. Okay, so looking at your profile, corporate growth, fintech, banking as a service. All right, so you have a pretty good following here, which is good. Let me see here. All right, this is, let me see here. All right, very business focused. Role and title. Okay, so you've been on some tech forums, which is great.
Yeah,
And then
I've
you
spoken on
brought the
some
Money
panels as well.
2020 Okay, say that again.
I've spoken on a panel before, some panels.
Okay, you spoke on a panel.
And I definitely want to
Great.
see myself more as a speaker.
Okay, so you're a speaker. Okay. So the first thing that I would say is, let me say this. Your profile looks like a resume. So it looks like you are really good at what you do. That's undeniable. You're a great account executive. You have a track record of proven success. I see all of your expertise and what you've done. A couple of things that I will call out here is, by chance, when you speak, do you speak on behalf of your company, or do you speak on behalf of the things that you're passionate about, like these 20-year-old professionals that want to break into tech, or do you talk about both?
I've only spoken for myself, so talking about how I broke into tech sales. I also have I also care about diversity. There isn't a lot of Black women in my field at all. So I've spoken about that as well. And
Okay,
overcoming imposter syndrome, breaking into male-dominated space.
okay.
I feel like I don't
Um,
do enough in a good enough job of promoting what I do outside of work in terms of like the podcast that I was on, like the panel. Like I don't know if that demonstrates enough on my LinkedIn profile what I do outside of my job.
Right. And I would say it doesn't. I would say it doesn't, but that's okay. It all starts with awareness. Now, I don't know anything about your social media policies at work, but one of the things that I would do is, if you are familiar with them, great. If not, make sure you look into them and understand what the policies are. A couple of things that I would say is, if you want to position yourself as a speaker, let me take a step back. For anyone who's listening to my voice, LinkedIn is a search engine optimization. I've gotten 80% of all of my speaking engagements from LinkedIn. And I will be honest, I just started getting paid speaking this year, January of 2024, although I've been speaking for years,
Wow.
right? And that's because of LinkedIn. The things that I have in my headline are searchable. Anything that you have here are searchable. Any things you have here are searchable. So if you're looking for speaking opportunities, you can't wait for people to identify you as a speaker. You have to put it in your headline. This is the first thing that people see on their mobile device. They only see this part on their mobile device, what I highlighted. We don't see anything else. And 70% of LinkedIn users use their mobile device. So they want to see the first thing. So Miski, what I would recommend is, somewhere in here, I would create a very short like pitch, something around, I'm a speaker, or keynote speaker, or I empower 20 something executive or 20 something professionals to break into tech. Um, passionate mentor or something like that, that showcases that's what you do outside of work. I don't believe that that's a conflict, but again, like I said, always look at your company policies. It should not be a conflict that you're focused on. And this is an irony. I know that your role is corporate growth. A part of growth is empowering other people, investing in other people as well. And I know that may not be the specific term of your corporate growth, but you're growing others by giving them information and access to things that they may not have had historically, right? So I would say, as you're looking at your profile, I would change here. I would add like keynote speaker, or something about who you serve and support. That doesn't mean that you're going out to get a new job or you're looking for clients, but if people are looking for folks to have on their podcast or folks to have on their stage, they're always looking for new voices. If you don't tell them how to work with you, there's no way that they'll find you.
Mm-hmm.
So you're a hidden gem right now.
So right, I
So
could add keynote speaker, sales
yeah,
mentor. I do sales mentoring as well, and D&I because I care about diversity inclusion, and I'm part of our ERG for diversity and inclusion.
there you go. Absolutely. Put it out there and then they'll find you. The other thing that I would say really quickly, if you can, change your banner. And I'll see if I can find it, but change your banner. I have some examples too, but change your banner to showcase what you do. So if you have any snippets of when you were on the panel,
Yeah.
or any volunteer work that you've done, or any podcast that you've done, showcase that here. This is I think of LinkedIn like your personal website. This is your personal website, and your personal website is telling me that you really care about Revolt business. You're focused on corporate growth. You live in London, and you speak about, you know, the things related to your company, and those are the things that attract you. That's what I see, right? You want to change that narrative from someone who's looking from the outside that may be looking for you. So I would showcase what you're passionate about. Showcase, you know, your speaking engagements, or use that headline that we came up with and shorten it and say, you know, I'm passionate about helping 20 something professionals in their career break into tech. Or I'm passionate about DEI, or, you know, whatever that is, to attract those opportunities to you. That's missing. Now, the thing that I would say, really quickly as well, is as you start to think about your content, I wouldn't say create anything brand spanking new. What I would say is, if you have any of the podcast clips that you've done before, or any of the panel clips before, you could create some content around that. It doesn't have to be anything new. It's new to us. I've never seen you on the panel. I've never seen you, you know, speak about these things that you're passionate about, right? So it's new to all of us. And then even going back to the 3 challenges that you write down every week, you could think of it from that perspective of, yes, it may have been a challenge for me, but it may help someone on the other side of this post that may feel alone, or may feel unseen, or may think that they have to be perfect. And the name of the game that I would say with LinkedIn and posting content, do not worry about the likes. Do not worry about the likes, because there's been many times when I've had like 2 or 3 likes on a post, and people are in my DM saying, Shantel, that was a life-changing post that you put out there. Thank you for sharing your vulnerability. Thank you for sharing your strategy. It's inspiring people to action, right? So I would say the tips that I would say on your profile is, if you can, if it's not against your company's policy, showcase your ability here visually. Social proof is what gets you booked. When people see you doing a podcast, no one knows that you only did one, Misky. No one knows how many you did, how many panels you did. They see the social proof, and people will make the assumptions, draw their own conclusions based off of what you're showing here. Okay. So I would say change that. As you mentioned before, add DEI. I would add, you know, speaker or keynote speaker into your headline as well. And then as you start to think about content, repurpose what you already have. And one thing that I will say, I won't spend a lot of time because I can do a whole session on LinkedIn. As you're thinking about content for LinkedIn, you don't have to post every day. You don't have to post multiple times a day. You don't have to post multiple times a week. Think about what works for you and stick to that consistently. If consistently is once a week, that's perfect. If consistently is twice a month, that's great, but just be consistent with it and speak on the themes that relate to you. Does
Just
that
got a
help?
question. Yeah, absolutely. Just got a quick question with the content I've created so far. I know you said don't focus on the likes, but sometimes I just realize that based on my following, I don't have as many likes on my, or interaction engagement on my posts. And I was just wondering, is it because the content that I'm posting isn't resonating with my community?
Are you engaging with your content?
Yeah,
So when you post, you're engaging with every person that comments?
yeah. I try to, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Are you engaging with followers or influencers in the same space talking about something similar?
Only when I post. I don't really interact with LinkedIn outside of posting.
Okay. So what I would recommend is, one, it's good that you're engaging with the content, because that's how, because LinkedIn's algorithm is fueled by engaging with your own content. So liking your own stuff, engaging and commenting on your posts. Another thing is, I'll give a couple of tips, is continuing the story. So, you know, you only have enough real estate for your post. And after you post, what I would recommend is continuing the story in the comments. So the more comments, the more quote unquote engagement that you have, it really positions you as an authority. And a lot that I see is, you know, I'm scrolling through you right now, is, you know, work related. This is a good one from a month ago. This is a great story that you're telling here as well. It's really engaging. One of the things that I would say is missing is you're not telling people to engage with your content.
There's no call to action.
Yes, right, right. So I would recommend people like to be told what to do, right? Uh, you know, you can say something like, what's your experience eating creme brulee with women of color in fintech, right? Comment below. You don't have a call to action, so people are not necessarily inclined to engage if you're not telling them to engage. This one has really great engagement. So I wouldn't say that that's an issue, but the call to actions, it does help as well. I would also say like continuing the story. So if there's any pieces of the story that you didn't tell up here, tell them in the comments so you can keep, having short engagement spurts in there. Like you can even come back to this post today. Like I'll say, I'm not going to post now. I would say, you can post in here, like continuing the story. The other thing too, really quickly before so I can move on to the next person, is to engage with people, even if it's 10 minutes. And I put myself on a LinkedIn timer because I can get obsessed about it. But 10 minutes looking for people in the same spaces that you are. So if you're, let me see, young professionals, UK. I'm just searching to see what comes up. They have organizations, so I would like connect with these organizations, or I would see who's post about young professionals that like resonates with me in my local area. And then what I would do, I would spend 5 to 10 minutes just engaging with their content. Yes, you don't know them. You may not be familiar with them, but that's the topic that you talk about. So engaging with their content, and the more people who see you engaging in the comments, they'll feel obligated to figure out like, who is this person commenting? They'll go look at your profile. They'll ask for friend requests and things of that nature and start conversations with you. So you want to continue the conversations in the chat and engage with people who are in the same space as you, so that you can grow your engagement and grow your influence. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Do you send them friend requests when you engage with their content?
I do.
Okay.
I do, because no one's competition. You don't have competition. So no one's competition. I send them a request. And that's actually how a lot of the partnerships happen. Because when you start engaging and you send them a friend request, you can say, hey, I'm looking to engage. I'm looking for opportunities to, speak with 20-something people in the career. Do you know of any opportunities? It's your responsibility to keep the conversation going and see how you can actually lean into the passion that you have and make an impact. But that's a whole nother conversation. So let me I hope that helps, Miski. I'm okay. Who wants to go next?
I am.
Okay, let me go over here. Give me one moment. Okay, and was that Nicola?
Gloria.
Gloria, okay. Gloria, and then we'll go to Nicola if we have some time here. Give me one moment. Let me get your stuff set up. Okay, so as I'm getting this set up, tell me a bit about how you want to be perceived and what are you targeting?
Okay, so what I'm looking at is in the next few months or years, I want to be known as a thought leader in my field as customer success. And right now, what I'm trying to do is simplifying customer success in Africa because it's new and most people are mistaking that for customer support, customer service. So I'm trying to make people understand that this is what it is. And aside that, I speak on various topics, digital transformation, girl child, and so many other things. So that's what I'm trying to, and of course, I'm trying to, for next year, that's 2025, I want to move from my current role, organization to another and get more speaking engagements. Those are my two major targets for next year.
Okay, perfect. Have you Do you have like you have a really good profile. Let me open this up. Have you made a list of the target spaces that you want to talk at?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So what that's one of the first recommendations that I would say, and oh, I didn't see my fan was blowing my hair all over the place. One of the first recommendations I would say is as you're looking to create a goal, right? So your goal is to speak more on customer success and position you as a customer success authority. I would start to think through a list of places that you want to speak at and create and curate that list of places that you want to speak at and start to make your pitch. So I'm gonna pause for a second, Gloria, and I'm gonna share with you how to make a pitch. I pulled my document up for my podcast pitch. Can you all see this on the screen yet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the pitch that and I'll give you all access to this. This is the pitch that I give my clients to position themselves for podcast speaking engagements. So what I typically tell them is to create a list of 50. I know that number is big, but you have to think of the odds, right? That number is big. It gives you something to aim for over the course of a longer period of time. So identify 50 podcasts where you want to be a guest star, right? And if you're struggling to find podcasts, I put a link in here. I typically search for podcasts on Podcast Insights. If you search podcastinsights.com, it'll show you just about every podcast that exists around the world by topic. So if you want to talk about customer success, if you want to talk about unicorns and rainbows, they have a podcast for that. If you want to talk about your favorite alcoholic beverages, they have a podcast for that. If you want to talk about being a mom, they have a podcast for that. So what I would typically say is search that and identify your top 50 podcasts that you want to speak at, that you want to be a guest on, right? And typically what I would do, and I have a pitch sequence as well, because the first time you reach out to them, they may not respond. And I want to make sure you know how to follow up, because it typically takes 3 to 4 times when you're pitching cold, right, to a podcast, right? So there's no, there's not always an application process for being on a podcast. Sometimes it's just being bold and sliding in their direct messages, but you have to know what to say, right, if you want to land more podcasts. So I always recommend listening to at least a little bit of the podcast before you send your message. You don't necessarily have to listen to the whole episode, but I try to get a sound bite that I can use in my email or my direct message to them. So this one here, it says, "Hey, Oprah." Yeah, I love Oprah. "Hey, Oprah, I've been listening to your podcast for a few months and I absolutely love it. It's so relevant for someone like me in the personal branding space." You can replace that with the customer success space or the, DEI space or whatever you want to place it with. And then you want to call out something that you heard on the episode. So the episode you aired on August, really made me think about XYZ, and you start putting your little blurb here. And then you can say something, "I'll be thrilled to join your podcast as a guest." And you would talk about what you can discuss. I can discuss advocating for yourself as a high achiever. I've overcome, self-doubt and now I empower others, or whatever you want to say in that space. And then you say, "Let me know what you think. Thank you for dedicating your time." You thank them for what they're doing. This is a template that works so easily because it's not like you're selling. It's showcasing that you actually listened. I surveyed podcast hosts, sorry, last year. And I said, "What stops you from bringing on a guest?" And they say they want to be on my podcast, but they never listen to anything that I said on the podcast. They never listened to any episodes, right? So aware of that, I created this as a function of that. Now, the other part of it is that there's this email sequence that I put together. And with this email sequence, it shows like this is the first email or first direct message that you will send. And then from there, it gives 3 options that you can use. So it's all laid out step by step. And then it shows you the second email that you send if they don't respond in 2 business days and the exact steps that you will take. And then the third email that you will send with the headline, with the talking points and all of that. So I've thought through all of this in regards to how you can position yourself for more podcasts without waiting for them to come to you. So I'm going to put this in the chat right now so that you all can have access to it. But I felt from what you said, Gloria, that this will be a benefit, most definitely, to the people on this call right now, if they're looking to grow in their brand authority and land more podcast opportunities. So let me put that in the chat really quickly. What am I doing? Let me see here. Let me go to the chat. And then also, as I'm putting this in the chat, I do have a LinkedIn visibility workbook. It's an 18-day challenge. I just put that in the chat. It's $10. It gives you your content schedule for the next 18 days. It gives you a free access to a LinkedIn learning course. It helps you think about how you position yourself for speaking opportunities as well. And Miski, if you open up the link that I just shared, it'll show you there, but it's called podcastinsights.com. And I'm putting it here, insights.com. There we go. So I'm putting it there as well. And you have the link to this document that you see on the screen. I just put it in the chat as well. All right, so let me get to Gloria, and then after we do Gloria, we'll spend the rest on just Q&A. So Gloria, I know that you're a speaker, but I don't see anything about you being a speaker here at all. I think it's important to call that out. So if you're a speaker, podcast host, or podcast guest, or panelist, putting that here in your headline would be helpful for you as well to attract more opportunities. I think that that's critical to have that here, like front and center. And then I would say, like, this is a nice template, but I would say as well, like, depending on your company's guidelines and policies, I think it's more important, because if your goal is to get more people in Africa and customer success, call that out on your headline. So yes, we want to know who you are, and we can see that as well. But if you say something like changing customer success, one African customer success manager at a time, or something like that, or, empowering Africans to grow their career in customer success, put that there. Because, I think if that's one of the things that you're looking to do, I don't see that right away in your space. I see that you're dynamic and proven customer success professional, and that's evident in your taglines. It also looks like you're looking for customer success opportunities, because this would flag people to come to you for customer success opportunities. Do you get direct messages from recruiters who are looking for customer experience, customer success specialists and managers?
Yeah, yes, I do.
Yeah, so your profile is set up in the manner to attract recruiters. So, and that may be what you're doing, but that's what it's showing me right now. It doesn't show space for opportunities for people to come to you for speaking engagements, or come to you as the authority who wants to empower the next generation of Africans in customer success. I don't see that.
Okay.
Okay. So I would say that as well. Your feature stuff is really good. So I see that here, right? I see that here. So in your feature section, I haven't even opened this all the way. I see that you have a connection to wanting to empower Africans in the customer success space. And that's evident even in that first line that I saw in your feature section, but I don't see it in your headline. Your headline looks more like, okay, Gloria Michael in customer success, and that's it.
Okay. I'll work on that.
I would say think about it in that way. And the link that I put in the chat as well, and the LinkedIn 18-day visibility course, it gives you several different templates that you can use as well. So if you're looking for different templates, I would say check that out too. Your content is pretty good. Like, you have a good blend. So it looks like your pillars that you talk about are customer success, empowering the next generation of customer success professionals in Africa. And I see a lot about, let me see, I'm scrolling to get my first feel of what you talk about. I love that you don't have a problem advocating, and you're funny. I like that. Um, but and this is good too. This is good. I would say stuff like this, like if you can snip this and put this in your banner, like showing you in action, that's powerful.
Okay.
Like if you can show yourself in action, like what you're doing, in action is powerful. So I see that you're human. I see that you have a sense of humor. I see that you're passionate about helping professionals. And I also see that you're a customer success expert. That's what it shows me here, tried and true. No questions about it. But your headline again, at the top, that's your real estate. Let me go back. That's your personal branding real estate right here that shows me who you are. If I'm looking on my phone, Gloria, again, I'm just highlighting the first things that I see on my phone is this. I don't see anything else when I first open your profile up. And if that doesn't act as a lead magnet or an attraction magnet, there may need to be a tweak that's made.
Okay.
Okay. I hope that helps.
Sure, yes, it does. And what other keywords would you want me to add apart from the speaking, like speaker or keynote speaker?
Yes,
And
so I told you I like AI. So I would use AI. I typically like to use Claude AI or Jade AI. I don't really use Chat GPT that much. What I would do is I would create your theme. So I would ask Chat GPT to give me a list of key words that are SEO optimized that are attached to keynote speaking. And then I would do the same for if you're looking to increase awareness for customer success for people in Africa. Give me the key optimized keywords that are SEO optimized. And I would ask ChatGPT for a list of them. Now, with that, just one other tip. You don't put them all here in your headline. You pepper them throughout your profile, right? So you would pepper them here in your about section, right? You would pepper them here in your about section. You will pepper them. You'll continue to use them in your posts, in your content. You'll pepper them throughout your profile. And what that does is it optimizes your profile with keywords that people are looking for, that people are searching for.
okay, all right.
Perfect. All right. So I am going to stop sharing. We've had a lot of time together, and I want to make sure that we don't miss the opportunities for Q&A. I'm dropping this in the chat, Jasper AI. Those are my two favorite. I actually wrote my book using Claude AI. It really helped a great deal to accelerate the writing process too. All right, so we have about 18 minutes left in our time. I want to open the floor up for Q&A. So I want to check the chat really quick to see if I missed anything. And then we'll open the floor up for questions. So feel free to come off of mute. If you have any specific questions about what we've discussed today, feel free to come off of mute.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to go first, Chantel. First and foremost, there's been so many nuggets you've been sharing with us, so thank you so much. I guess it comes down to like consistency in building your brand online. How do you manage that consistency to do it? Because you have to build that consistency if you want to build that brand. And I feel like sometimes I'll have really good months where I'm posting, and sometimes I'll fall off. And I really want to build that consistency and knowing who I am and how to pitch myself.
Yeah. I think it's important, and that's a really great question. So thank you for asking it. It depends on what you can do. Some people I know can post every single day. I can't. Some people write newsletters, they have a podcast, they do speaking engagements, they have a full-time job, they have 8 kids, and they just make it happen. And that's just not what I'm willing to subscribe to. So I think it's important for you to do a couple of things. One, identify what you believe is consistent. Um, consistent is subjective, right? You know, as I mentioned earlier, you don't have to post every single day, every single week. You may be, one of the ladies I work with, we were doing audio events together. She's also in personal branding. Her name is Lacey McKinney. And what she does, she posts a newsletter once a month. That's all she does. Once a month, she posts a newsletter and engages with that newsletter because that's all the time that she has. So I would say the first thing is to identify what can work for you. What does consistency look like? The second thing is batch creating. So if you can take an hour or two once a month and just sit down and think of all of the content that you want to talk about. So if your themes are, you know, 20 somethings in a career breaking into tech, think about the things that they would want to hear. You can use AI as well and say, and I love this because I do it all the time. I don't have a lot of time. I typically do a prompt with AI. I say, act as an experienced copywriter and storyteller with 20 years of experience. I speak on personal branding. Give me 30 days of content. And then I'll take the 30 days of content that they have, I'll identify the ones that I like and that I don't like, and that's what I focus on. So while I don't post for 30 days, if I ask for 30 days worth of content and I'm posting twice a week, I at least have content for the whole 2-3 months that I'm spreading out over a period of time. The third thing that I would recommend is to automate where you can. So I mentioned earlier that I use automation tools like LinkedIn, LinkedIn Scheduler. I also use, I'm trying to put it in the chat while I'm talking. I use Buffer. Other ones that you can use is Hootsuite. And then I've used, I think this is how you pronounce it, Taplio. I might have to look that one up because I think I spelled that one wrong. And you use the tools that help you get there faster. I definitely spelled that one wrong. So let me put the link that I typically use for my post formatting for LinkedIn. It's taplio.com right here. So that's what I use. You can schedule through those as well and always have like emergency content. So if you're using Claude AI or Jasper AI or an AI tool to give you inspiration, at least you have something to pull from so you don't fall into the I am not being consistent trap. You're batching it all and you're thinking to yourself, okay, what do I need? What does the person on the other end of this post need to hear? And you create content based off of that. And once you have that 30 days worth of content, if you're posting once a week, right? Once a week, you have content for 6 months now, right? If you post twice a week, you have content for 3 months now. You just need to stick to what you have and create that plan and let it automate. So put it in Buffer, put it in Taplio, or put it in LinkedIn Scheduler, schedule it all out in advance so you're not having to post every day. Some people like the exercise of posting every day and writing their own content and not using AI, and that's perfectly fine. I just don't have the brain capacity to think because I'll take an hour and 45 minutes or 3 hours to come up with one post. AI has helped me to accelerate my my insights very quickly. So I hope that helps. Okay. What else? Anybody else?
I have one more question.
Go ahead. And then we'll go to Nicola. It looks like she came off of mute.
How do you go from, because I've had non-speaking gigs, how do you make the transition to go from non-speaking gigs to speaking gigs?
I actually have a masterclass tomorrow on that, but I'll give a couple minute blurts. One, say that you're a speaker. So put it on your profile, say that you're a speaker. People who you know in your network, tell everyone that you are a speaker. I know that that sounds so obvious, but tell everyone that you're a speaker so that they have an understanding of how to work with you. Because just because you know you're a speaker doesn't mean that everybody else knows that you're a speaker. I will also like start off with podcasts. So I gave the blueprint of how to start off with podcasts. And as you're talking on podcasts and sharing someone else's audiences, tell them how they can work with you. You know, make sure you come prepared and say, you know, I'm also a keynote speaker. I speak on these topics, right? The other thing is use your content to tell people that you're a speaker. So your call to action can be, I'm open for 2020, I'm open for speaking opportunities in 2025. These are the topics that I talk about, right? The other thing that I would say is start with free speaking gigs. I wouldn't recommend doing it for a long time, but start with free speaking gigs so that you can get the recording, you can get the reps, you can get the practice. And then from there, you know, you can start positioning yourself for other speaking opportunities. You can also do a Google search on the topics that you're interested in. One of the tips that I'll give really quick that is easy. If anyone who has Google, you can set a Google alert for speaking engagements in your specific area. So I have Google alerts for speaking area. I'm located in Las Vegas, greater Las Vegas. So I have Google alerts that tell me any speaking engagements that are happening in Las Vegas. I have a Google alert that tells me any speaking engagements on women empowerment, on leadership and personal branding. And I run the Google alerts, and every day it sends me an alert to let me know what speaking engagements or opportunities are coming and what conferences are in my area. And then the other thing, and the last tip, you all are getting all of the bonuses and goodies here. I would say run a Google search, or even better, use AI and say, hey, I'm interested in speaking on these topics in 2025. I'm located in this area and willing to travel here. Give me a list of 10 conferences that have call for speakers that I can apply to. I love using my AI tools to make it easier for me to find the answers. So that's what I would recommend.
Please, can you come again with the last statement you made about using AI to maybe get the places that potential places you can speak?
Let me show you. I think I'm a visual person, so let me show you. Let me share my screen. And then Nicola, I'm coming right to you. I haven't forgotten about you.
Okay.
Okay, give me one moment. I'm trying to log into my Claude. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, do you all see my my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I use Claude AI, and this is Claude AI. So I would say I am a keynote speaker, and I speak on personal branding and women empowerment. I am located in Las Vegas and willing to travel to, I'm just going to say California for the sake of this. Give me a list of conferences that I can apply to speak at starting January 2025. So what AI did was they gave me a list of Nevada, I'm located in Nevada, and California conferences to consider. So it tells me what's the name of the conference, when is it typically held, what the focus is, and past speakers. And it keeps giving me women in tech, professional business women of California, you know, women inspiring Nevada. It tells me this. And then it also gives me the next steps. Reach out now, because this is when they're doing things. They typically try to get these things done 6 months in advance. You know, you get that all organized 6 months in advance, prepare my speaking topics and things of that nature. Now, the next step that I would do is give me a speaker pitch and email sequence if they don't respond. They done came up with my whole speaker pitch. And I just let them do it for me. So, and of course you will go in, you'll read it and you'll tweak it for the thing that makes the most sense for you. But just visually, I'm a visual learner. So it gave me my email pitch, like my subject line, who I am. I'll tweak that and I'll add like my speaker bio in there as well. I'll add like proof, social proof, and as well, the topics. What sets my talk apart is what they called out. And then a call to action. I would love to schedule some time to talk to you. You can use the same thing in someone's LinkedIn DMs. If someone is an events coordinator or conference host, conference organizer, or something like that, you can do it that way. And it gives all of the elements of timing, personalization, value add, and a call to action. So that's how I would do it. Does that help?
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. And last but certainly not least, Nicola.
Yes. I was just going to say thank you so much. This has been really good. There's been so many gems. The thing I was going to say is I think for me it's a little bit difficult because I don't necessarily know if I want to progress in the role that I'm in as resource manager. There's other passions that I have, such as like being a youth coach. I've worked with like young people with like personal development and stuff like that. Passionate about diversity and inclusion, and I've worked on that within different roles. I'm very good at like organizing, planning, problem solving, helping people, and I've been doing that throughout my career, but I kind of just don't know how to position myself going forward because I don't know what my next role looks like. So I kind of, it's a bit difficult because I've got all that other stuff, but then in terms of career, I'm not saying I want to be a senior resource manager because I don't know if that's what I want to do. So then I'm like, yeah, what do I do?
And you're trying to figure out where your next step is in your career, or say a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so because I don't know if I want to keep going down the resource management route. I'm still exploring it, and I've reached out to other resource managers on like LinkedIn, and I had a conversation with one the other day, and so she's going to put on like a networking group for a group of like black resource managers to come together, which I think would be quite just insightful and good to kind of hear other people's experiences, because I think I've also just worked as a resource manager in my current company, and I don't know what that looks like elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm still just trying to navigate that aspect, if that makes sense.
Okay. I think you're doing a lot of the right things. First and foremost, you're reaching out to gauge what the market, where the market is. You're gauging other people's experiences. You are, surrounding yourself with like-minded individuals, which is great. And you're kind of testing the water. I think one of the things that you may want to spend some time identifying is where the intersection of your skills are, aligns with other opportunities, because right now you're so conditioned to being a resource manager. That's probably all you can think about doing, and you're trying to explore like what's next. So I heard you say you're really good at organizing, you're really good at problem solving, you're really good at helping people, you love empowering youth, you're really passionate about D&I, and you're currently a resource manager. So I know for me, I would think about like, where are those intersections of your professional responsibilities and your passions? And I'm going back to that again. So other roles that you can look at, and I don't know if you started to explore this, so forgive me, but I would start thinking about roles like diversity and inclusion manager or specialist, youth program coordinator or manager, community engagement officer, project manager in a nonprofit organization, HR business partner with a DEI focus, education outreach coordinator, social impact manager, or operations manager, though, for like a charitable organization. Those intersect, and that gives you like a whole list of other things that you can explore. Other things that I would say is start to think about groups and organizations that you're not currently a part of. So I just did a search on LinkedIn groups that you might find valuable, and I'll put them in the chat. And that will give you some more exposure to the spaces that you may want to be in. So I would say like UK diversity and inclusion professionals. You don't have to be a diversity and inclusion professional by title to be passionate about DEI.
Yeah.
So be in those spaces. Nonprofit networks, youth work professionals in the UK, HR and people professionals. You do not have to be in those roles to join those groups. So as you're exploring, because right now you're in the discovery phase, you don't really know where you're going to go yet. But what you can do is start to explore, and like you're doing in this resource management space, rub elbows in the space where you think you want to go, start questioning people, start having coffee talks, asserting your value, let people know in those smaller groups. Your boss really can't find you in the smaller groups. That's what I love about those on LinkedIn. Start asking questions in the DM and say, hey, I'm curious about changing careers. These are my skills. How would this be viewed in your organization? Or can we schedule 10, 15 minutes to have a coffee talk? You're in this discovery space, so it's okay not to know, but it's recommended to use that time to explore, and you'll come to your conclusion as you start exploring with other people.
No, that's really helpful. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to answer this final question. I'm tongue-tied, and then I'm going to wrap us up. So LinkedIn Premium, I don't use it, and many of the people and thought leaders that I know typically don't use LinkedIn Premium. It's a waste of time. I've only seen the benefit of Sales Navigator for people who are in sales specific roles, who are looking to expand their opportunity list in their portfolio. So I'm going to leave you with these last two things. I'm going to put the link again to the 18-day LinkedIn visibility challenge, and that itself gives you your content schedule for 18 days. It gives you access to the LinkedIn learning course and templates and banners to revamp your LinkedIn profile. And I also put the link to my book, Promote Your Damn Self, which is here. So I'll have that link in the chat as well. So I hope that this gave you an abundance of value. I hope it reminded you of your worth and your value and what you bring to the table. If you have any questions, you can always find me on LinkedIn, or you can message me at Shantel@shantellove.com. You all will get access to this after this renders. It may take about 24 to 48 hours for that to render, and then I'll post it on my website and give you access to that. Miski, I see your hand up. Let me get your question before we get out of here.
Sorry, yeah, I just wanted to ask, I've got access to the 18-day LinkedIn personal branding challenge, so I'm going to get started on that. I also the executive presence training, I just wanted to know, is that another training?
That you should have it in the package that you have. So it should be in your link. If you didn't get it, just send me an email.
Okay, all right, I'll send you an email.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, I want to just say thank you all for investing in yourself. Thank you all for taking time to grow in your personal brand. I look forward to seeing you out there on the LinkedIn streets, and send me a message if you have any questions, and post about your experience. Write a post and tag me. I promise I will engage. I hope that this filled your cup, and I hope you all take care and enjoy what's left of your day. Take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.